Chapter 4973. Peerless City was established. It was announced to the world. The sects and clans in the area were in an uproar. Were the grotto heavens going to disappear and become history? Peerless City. What was that? Ethereal Peak. This time, they were the first to receive the news. Following which, their faces turned ugly. The 6 grotto heavens no longer existed. The other party had even established a new sect. This was going against Ethereal Peak. Lin Xian, an ant, how dare you challenge Ethereal Peak? I'll let you know that even if you have Xiantian Pavilion or other forces behind you, you're still no match for us. Ethereal Peak let out a cold killing intent. After Lin Xian conquered the 6 grotto heavens, he did not attack Ethereal Peak immediately. Instead, he rested and consolidated the 6 grotto heavens. The 6 grotto heavens were far apart from each other. Lin Xian devoured 5 of them directly. Only 1,000 grotto heavens were left. Furthermore, the grotto heavens were officially changed and Peerless City was established. The martial artists in the area were in a heated discussion. Heavens, was someone going to challenge Ethereal Peak's position as the overlord? Who knew what kind of background Peerless City had? He was too strong. The 6 grotto heavens were destroyed in the blink of an eye. What kind of strength was that? Countless discussions could be heard. These voices were transmitted to Ethereal Peak. The people of Ethereal Peak were furious. Damn it, how dare they look down on us? These stupid ants, do they want to die? There were also people who said that it seemed like Ethereal Peak had not shown its strength for a long time. To think that a young man would dare to behave so atrociously. Let's gather our strength and attack Peerless City. I'll let them destroy as quickly as they build. Ethereal Peak was enraged. They gathered their experts and moved out quickly. On this day, they set off. The sects and clans in the area went to Peerless City to congratulate them. At the same time, they wanted to befriend Peerless City. Therefore, Peerless City was bustling with noise and excitement. Lin Xian did not even appear for such a matter. He let Nalan Liang and Yuren handle it. Old ancestor Xianhai and the others looked at this scene in disbelief. They felt that Lin Xian was mysterious and terrifying. This young man had used thunder to overturn the situation in this area that had existed for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. This was simply the means of a god. However, they were not at ease because they knew that the Misty Peak would not let this matter rest. If even the combined forces of the 6 paradise weren't a match for the Misty Peak, not to mention that they had been suppressed for thousands of years. One could only imagine how frightening the Misty Peak was. Could this Lin Xian really withstand it? Outside, there was a sea of people, and it was bustling with noise and excitement. Voices of congratulations could be heard everywhere. However, at this moment, dark clouds covered the sky, and a terrifying aura pressed down. Everyone raised their heads with fear on their faces. Black Ice Ancestor's pupils shrank. Is it coming? I have an extremely bad feeling. Lin Xian, get out here and face your death. A terrifying voice rang out, shattering the 9 heavens. Terrifying laws fell down from the sky. The people from the clans and sects below quickly retreated in fear. Oh no, are the people from the Misty Peak here? Within the dark clouds, there were countless figures. The 8 figures were exceptionally terrifying. They were the 8 elders of the Ethereal Peak. The 8 of them were like gods and demons, standing tall in the 9 heavens. Not good. Black Ice Ancestor's pupils shrank. To think that the Misty Peak would be so generous. In an instant, they sent 8 great sage over, followed by countless experts. This strength was enough to sweep through everything. Those who came to congratulate felt their scalps go numb. They were in despair. They felt that they had made a decision that they regretted. It seemed a little too early to congratulate the countless cities. That's right. Even though the Misty Peak did not make a move all year round, their position as the Overlord was something that no one dared to challenge. Yuren and the others looked grim. Baisusu, the dark red divine dragon, and the others walked out as well. Are you guys from the Misty Peak? Baisusu shouted coldly. In front, the 8 great sage of the Misty Peak frowned as well. All of them were young. How dare a bunch of young ants go against us? All of them knelt by the side obediently. How dare you attack the 6 paradise and challenge the Misty Peak? You guys are truly courting death. Kneel down and accept your death. We'll give you a quick death. As for that Lin Xian, we'll tear him into pieces and let him know what a fate worse than death is. The 8 great sage emitted a torrential aura. Countless people around them knelt down. Behind them were the people from the 3 paradises. They had arrived as well. Looking at this scene, they laughed coldly. What Lin Xian? He couldn't be compared to the Misty Peak at all. 8 great sage. Baisusu's face was filled with disdain. The dark red divine dragon and the others laughed coldly as well. To be honest, this lineup was indeed scary in the eyes of others. But to them, it was nothing. One had to know that back in the Dao Sex event, the ones who came and went were all great sage. In fact, there were quite a number of great sage in the later stages and pinnacle stages. Baisusu had seen plenty of such situations. 8 of them was not enough to intimidate her. Another 8 people arrived. Lin Xian walked out as well. He shook his head slightly. Too little. Did the Misty Peak send you guys here to die? Lad, it's you indeed. When the people of the Misty Peak saw that it was Lin Xian, their eyes were filled with cold killing intent. One of the elders waved his hand, and a sharp beam of light slashed forward. He wanted to kill Lin Xian by surprise. But how could such a small trick hurt Lin Xian? Lin Xian smashed the attack with a single palm. He then activated his eye technique. The great sage shrieked. His soul was injured. His body swayed and his face was pale. You want to sneak up on me? I'm afraid you don't have what it takes. Countless people were shocked. The faces of the people of the Misty Peak were terrible. To think that this guy could hurt the great sage. This was unbelievable. Could it be that this young man had already become a great sage? What sort of cultivation speed was this? He remembered that when this guy left, he wasn't even a sage king. But now, he had become a great sage. They were going crazy. However, when they sensed carefully, they realized that there was no great sage aura on him. The elder of the Star Tribe gritted his teeth. Everyone, don't hesitate anymore. This lad is strange. If we let him grow, he will be our nightmare in the future. Everyone, let's attack together and kill him now to prevent future troubles. That's right. The other great sage nodded. The 8 great sage walked forward together. Every step they took was earth-shattering. Countless people spat out blood and retreated. The people of the Divine Union sneered. Lin Xian was even more fearless. Now, the heaven-devouring jar. After devouring the 5 paradise, he had stored all of the refined energy for his current use. He took out the great dragon sword soul and slashed out. The 8 great sage joined hands with the confidence of being invincible. However, their confidence crumbled under this sword. For great saints were destroyed in body and soul with a single strike. The other 4 were severely injured and fled. Run! They fled back to the Misty Peak frantically. The others were also scared out of their wits and fled quickly. The people below were stunned. Was this really the Misty Peak? When they came, they were as mighty as gods. Now, they were like stray dogs. The confidence of the Misty Peak collapsed. How could they have known that the sword would be so terrifying? Chapter 4974. Ethereal Peak was also waiting, but they weren't worried. After sending out the 8 great sage, Wishwang's city should have been destroyed long ago. But not long later, roars could be heard. Quick, save us. Activate the Supreme Array. That lad was here. The 4 great sage returned with blood. The people of Ethereal Peak were terrified. What was going on? Were you ambushed? The 4 great sage shook their heads. It was Lin Xian. Lin Xian was here. He was a demon. They had to stop him. Lin Xian. The people of Ethereal Peak frowned even more. A young man could make the great sage so terrified. Why were only the 4 of them back? Where were the others? What kind of expert did Lin Xian invite to help him? The 4 experts wanted to say something, but in the next moment, a figure flew over from afar. Lin Xian stood in the sky. Looking at the ethereal peak in front, he said coldly. Did you think that you could survive by escaping here? With that said, the heaven-swallowing jar surged with energy again. Lin Xian took out a dragon-shaped sword shadow and slashed out. Retreat! The 4 injured great sage roared in fear. The others of Ethereal Peak were stunned. What was a young man afraid of? This was their territory. Don't be afraid. Let me do it. A few elders stood out. One of them held a long spear and shattered the world. The other person took out a shield to block the attack. The other 2 shrouded their holy regions and activated the array. With such a lineup, it was too easy to kill a young man. But these people were destined to be in despair. Under the sword, the array was shattered and the mountain collapsed. The great sage who attacked disappeared. Of the 4 who were severely injured, 2 of them were swept into the sword light and turned into a blood mist. Countless mountains collapsed. The entire ethereal peak was shocked. This sword had almost split Misty Peak in half. Lin Xian was shocked. Ethereal Peak was indeed worthy of its name. It was completely above the grotto heavens. Its foundation was indeed extraordinary. However, he wasn't afraid. With a flash, he entered the Misty Peak. At this moment, the Peak Master of Ethereal Peak came out as well. He was a middle-aged man wearing a Daoist robe, and his face was grim. He walked over with countless experts and confronted Lin Xian. Young man, this is not a place where you can be so presumptuous. Lin Xian's answer was very simple. It was another sword strike. Piles of Misty Peak warriors had perished. Even the saints had perished. The Misty Peak was torn apart. Previously, Lin Xian had devoured 5 heavenly caves with the heaven-devouring jar, allowing him to execute 5 slashes. At this moment, he had already slashed 3 times, and only 2 more were left. The people of Misty Peak were shocked. What kind of attack was this? The Misty Peak's Peak Lord was even more furious. Young man, don't go overboard. Although you are powerful, how many times can you use such an attack? Even some of the Supreme Elders had awakened. They were brimming with killing intent, and there was even an extremely terrifying killing intent gathering in the dark. Obviously, the power of the mortal world had also been used. Heaven and Earth. This lineup was 10 times stronger than the previous heavenly caves. Lin Xian stood in the void and did not retreat. He took out a token from his storage ring and said, "You should recognize this token." The people of Misty Peak looked over, puzzled. How could a token scare them? However, the Misty Peak's Peak Lord exclaimed, Saint Origin Token. You have a Saint Origin Token. You are from the Sacred Abyss Tower. As the Peak Lord, he had traveled around when he was young. Naturally, he had been to the Sacred Abyss ancient city and even knew about the legend of the Sacred Abyss Tower. At that time, he stood outside and admired it for a long time. After he returned, he was very powerful, but he had never been to the Sacred Abyss ancient city again. However, he was very clear about the power and terror of the Sacred Abyss Tower. Now that Lin Xian had a Saint Origin Token, it meant that he was from the Sacred Abyss Tower. Good that you recognize him. Do you think your Misty Peak is qualified to fight against me? How dare you? Who do you think you are? Are you trying to scare us? The people around him shouted angrily. Shut up. The Misty Peak's Peak Lord roared. What do you know? The surrounding people were all terrified. Could it be that this command medallion really possessed some sort of magical power that could make their peak leader so terrified? Young man, I will let bygones be bygones. The 6 heavenly caves were destroyed and I acknowledge your position in Wushuang City. The grudges between us are written off. How about it? The people around him were dumbfounded. It was too unbelievable. Their Peak Lord actually backed down. But it was not enough. Lin Xian shook his head. The Misty Peak's Peak Lord's pupils shrank. He gritted his teeth and asked, then, what do you want? Hand over the assassins of the human world. As for the rest of the people of Misty Peak, they will go down the mountain and become independent cultivators. They will never be enemies with Wushuang City. Impossible. The elders around him roared crazily. They would never agree to either of the two conditions. The human world and Misty Peak were too closely related. It was impossible to separate them. As for sealing the mountain gate, what a joke. Wouldn't Wushuang City be the overlord of this place? How could they give up? The assassins of the human world took the initiative to attack. The terrifying killing swords covered the sky. There were dozens of them. They were all at the level of the Great Sage. Usually, the assassins below the level of the Great Sage would not be able to break through Lin Xian's defense. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He combined the power of the last 2 heavenly caves and struck out a super strong sword. A sword that shocked the gods. With a single slash, the void shattered, and dozens of great saints were reduced to a bloody mist. Lin Xian stood in the sea of blood and asked coldly. Do you still want to continue? Although the power given to him by the heavenly caves was gone, he was still fearless. His eyes shone with confidence. The elders broke down. The people of the star race were also in despair. The other party must be using an extreme weapon. Otherwise, why would it be so terrifying? Stop, I am willing to accept your previous conditions. The Misty Peak Lord sighed. He seemed to have aged a few thousand years. Lin Xian sneered. It was too late to agree now. I will add one more condition. Hand over the resources of Misty Peak. You! The Misty Peak Lord was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. However, he still agreed. He had no choice. Although he doubted if the other party could still strike out a super strong sword. Misty Peak would not gain anything if the fight continued. The other party took out the Saint Origin Token. If anything happened to the other party here, the Divine General of the Saint Origin Tower would definitely come to investigate. At that time, no matter how strong they were, they would not be able to withstand the wrath of the Divine General. The great sage of the human world had all fallen under that sword. The remaining assassins of the human world were in despair. The Misty Peak Lord and the others took action personally. The people of the star race were in despair. Are you really going to take action? The members of the human world were basically from the star race. At this moment, the star race was wiped out. Young master, are you satisfied? Lin Xian looked around. When he could no longer feel the killing intent, he nodded. Then, he walked over. Your Misty Peak seems to have the power of reincarnation. He also exuded an extremely strong power of reincarnation. The Misty Peak Lord was stunned. His face was filled with shock. Chapter 49-75. He had completely submitted to Lin Fan now. The person in front of him had completely surpassed him in terms of status and strength. As for the other party coming to find them, they had only themselves to blame. After all, they had hunted down the other party back then. Now, it was an eye for an eye. It was already fortunate that Ethereal Peak could be preserved. He naturally didn't dare to have any thoughts of revenge. As for the reincarnation power that the other party mentioned, he couldn't hide it. Lin Xian followed the other party all the way into Ethereal Peak, passing through countless arrays. He wasn't afraid that the other party would play any tricks. He had enough trump cards to deal with everything. The Ethereal Peak Master didn't seem to want to play any tricks. He came to the depths of the mountains and opened an ancient mansion. There was a sacred platform inside, emitting the light of the Great Tao, and there was a bone on it. The bone emitted the power of reincarnation. Lin Xian was surprised. This is... The Ethereal Peak Master said that this was the source of the reincarnation power of Ethereal Peak. Looking at the reincarnation bone in front of him, Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. His eyes also contained the terrifying power of reincarnation. The two types of reincarnation power intertwined between heaven and earth. The Ethereal Peak Master was shocked. To be honest, although they could also use the power of reincarnation, they couldn't get close to the reincarnation bone at all. Not to mention that Lin Xian could erupt such a terrifying power of reincarnation. The Ethereal Peak Master was too shocked. At this moment, the reincarnation bone in front of him suddenly flew towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian was stunned. The power of reincarnation intertwined, forming a gate of reincarnation and sucking it in. This wasn't his intention. This bone flew over of its own accord. Lin Xian naturally didn't stand on ceremony. If he absorbed the power of reincarnation, it might be able to evolve his heavenly secret divine eye. He now knew that after the heavenly secret divine eye evolved, it would be the legendary reincarnation eye. At a glance, it was the 6 paths of reincarnation. What? The Ethereal Peak Master was stunned. Why did he take away the supreme treasure of Ethereal Peak? What was she about to say? Lin Xian turned his head and looked over. The Misty Peak Lord felt his scalp turning numb. He could feel the gaze of Qin Wendian growing deeper and deeper. He laughed. Treasures could only be obtained by experts. Moreover, young master, you also possess the power of reincarnation. This originally belonged to you. His heart was bleeding, but he still had to smile. Lin Xian lightly snorted and said indifferently. Previously, in the true spirit world, the channel to the buried Emperor Star should be managed by you all. Open it, I want to return to quintessential world. The Misty Peak Lord was shocked. Young master wanted to return. Naturally, he didn't dare to ask too much. He said, I'll go and prepare now. Actually, what he needed to do was very simple. He just needed to bring Lin Xian and the others to a specific location and then activate the power of reincarnation. Previously, they had borrowed the power of the reincarnation bone to control this passageway. But now, the reincarnation bone was gone. Without a source of reincarnation energy in their hands, they might not be able to control this passage in the future. Lin Xian and the rest returned from the Misty Peak. At this moment, the Misty Peak's momentum was greatly reduced. Furthermore, they were no longer the overlords and had fallen from their divine altar. From now on, this region belonged to Peerless City. When the clans and sects in this region heard about this, they were in an uproar. They had originally thought that the Misty Peak would completely crush Peerless City. But the situation was completely out of their expectations. Peerless City was actually so powerful that they had become the sole overlord of this region. Even the Misty Peak had to bow down to them. Moreover, it was said that there were countless sages' blood flying from the Misty Peak. It was like hell. Hong Yi, Gao Jinfei, the two of you stay here and take charge of things here. Yes, young martial uncle. The two of them nodded and walked out. Lin Xian took out a token. This was the Divine Union token. Anyone who dared to disobey would be killed without mercy. A cold voice resounded. The people of the Misty Peak lowered their heads and didn't dare to disobey. After resting for another 2 days, Lin Xian and the rest started moving. The Misty Peak's Peak Master personally led the way. He brought them to a primeval forest and pointed at a huge mountain in front of them. It's here. Using the power of reincarnation to open the door of reincarnation. All right. Lin Xian nodded. There was an extremely terrifying power of reincarnation intertwining in his eyes. The void in front of them shook and tore apart. Then, a door of reincarnation appeared, emitting a mysterious aura. At the same time, there seemed to be some kind of mysterious power connecting heaven and earth, which surprised Lin Xian. This was too unbelievable. He had a shocking thought, but he didn't have time to think about it now. Let's go. With a wave of his hand, he led the dark red divine dragon and the rest into the door of reincarnation. After another round of space shuttling, they were already in the quintessential world when they reappeared. The members of the Divine Union, especially by Su Su and the others, were looking left and right. Lin Xian, is this the quintessential world? It's also the origin star. It's really different. I can feel the aura here. It's very mysterious. Lin Xian nodded. Then, he was surprised. He could feel that the power of this world had increased a lot since he left. In other words, this world was recovering at an extremely fast speed. In that case, the cultivation of the people in this world should have undergone earth-shaking changes. He didn't know. What kind of connection was there between these two worlds? Let's go. Lin Xian waved his hand and the group boarded the spirit boat. They flew quickly. Lin Xian, the dark red divine dragon, and the rest heard some things about the quintessential world. It turned out that the desolate ancient families also existed in this world and Wan Long Chao had come from here. They were shocked. They even realized that those sacred grounds and peerless great sects existed here. The two worlds were exactly the same. Bai Susu exclaimed. The others were also surprised. Lin Xian's heart skipped a beat. He seemed to have grasped a key point, but he still felt that it was a little vague. Were the family inheritances the same in the two worlds? One was life and the other was death. Could it be the same as Tai Chi? He cultivated the Tai Chi art and naturally knew that yin and yang were fused together and couldn't be separated. The buried Emperor Star and the Origin Star were yin and yang respectively. Interesting. It was getting more and more mysterious. He probably couldn't figure it out with his current strength. If he wanted to know, he would have to become a great emperor. The group first went to the Shi Manor and saw Qing Wu, the North Demon sister. Qing Wu's strength had increased by leaps and bounds. However, when she saw Lin Xian and the others, she was shocked. Lin Xian said, "I'm here to pick you up on behalf of your brother. Come with me." Qing Wu was so excited that she was about to cry. She had been separated from the North Demon for many years. She nodded and left with Lin Xian. Let's go to the shrine. The group once again headed to the shrine. In the shrine, Peacock, Xing Tian, and the others were excited when they saw Lin Xian return. They greeted the shrine master. Lin Xian laughed. Let's celebrate later. I want to see old Xia first. He went to the core area of the shrine and went to the ancient cave residence. After Lin Xian opened it, an old man was sealed in the god crystal. Chapter 4976. Inside the divine crystal, Xia Jiuyo opened his eyes and smiled kindly. You're back. Lin Xian said, I've kept you waiting. With that, he waved his hand and opened the sword world. It enveloped Xia Jiuyo as well. Now that I've found the divine spring of life, it has a strong vitality. He once created the immortal divine medicine and the divine tree of life. He should be able to cure you. Xia Jiuyo's eyes lit up. The divine spring of life. You actually obtained it as well. How could Spirit Realm be willing to give it to you? Lin Xian was even more surprised. He didn't expect Xia Jiuyo to know such a secret. Wasn't this something only the divine tree of life and the previous masters of Spirit Realm knew? Xia Jiuyo recalled and said, back then, I also went to Spirit Realm to look for the immortal herb. I saw the divine spring of life. However, Spirit Realm was related to a great emperor back then. I wasn't a great emperor back then, so I couldn't make a move. So, I left. How did you get it? It shouldn't be easy. How could Spirit Realm be willing to give it to you? Xia Jiuyo was also very confused. Lin Xian said that Spirit Realm was destroyed and no longer existed. Xia Jiuyo's pupils shrank. He looked up and asked, what's going on? Lin Xian said, I didn't do it. It was the Thousand Dragon Court. It was a long story. To put it simply, the Dragon Prince's life was in danger. The Thousand Dragon Court went crazy and wanted to snatch the divine tree of life. Xia Jiuyo exclaimed. It seemed that the battle for the great emperor was getting more and more intense. Lin Xian said, Old Xia, let's use the divine spring of life first. He felt that the other party was in a bad state. So, I'm not suitable to stay in this world in my current state. Let me out first. Take out the divine spring. Lin Xian also came back to his senses. He was too excited just now and didn't see that the divine crystal on Xia Jiuyo's body was about to disappear. Obviously, the sword world was absorbing the energy. He said, I was too reckless. He quickly brought Xia Jiuyo out of the sword world. At the same time, he took out 2 springs from the sword world. It was placed in Xia Jiuyo's cave. Xia Jiuyo sat on the mouth of the spring as the divine spring of life enveloped him. His withered body was gradually recovering. That's great. Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief. Sure enough, it worked. Next, Lin Xian gave Xia Jiuyo a detailed account of his experiences on the buried Emperor Star. Xia Jiuyo felt gratified after hearing this. The student has surpassed the teacher. You will definitely walk further on the path of the great emperor than me. By the way, Elder Xia, what is going on in this world? Why did it wither? Lin Xian asked about the sword world. Elder Xia sighed. This world had withered away during the Great War back then. However, it did not shatter. It was just that its power had dried up. As long as there was a chance, he would be reborn. Now that he is in your hands, you must take good care of him. Perhaps you will be able to achieve that goal one day when you control this world. Xia Jiuyo's explanation was very vague, but Lin Xian knew that this world was very important. Furthermore, he had also experienced the wonders of this world. The growth rate of the spirit herbs inside was countless times faster than the growth rate outside. It was simply a paradise. It was really unknown what kind of great war back then had caused this world to wither away. Was it the peak of the great sage? Or was it a battle between great emperors above the great sage? Next, Lin Xian left. He had been maintaining the connection between the sacred spring of life and the spring eye. This would allow Xia Jiuyo to continue recovering. This time, he went out to meet with the people from the Divine Hole. The group was very happy. Bai Susu and the others from the Divine Union were already familiar with Peacock and the others. Therefore, they chatted happily with each other. Everyone was lively for more than 10 days before gradually calming down. On this day, Xia Jiuyo's pupils shrank. Lin Xian's expression changed. He could sense that the little bit of vitality that Xia Jiuyo had just recovered seemed to be rapidly declining. What was going on? Lin Xian's expression changed as he instantly arrived at the ancient cave. What happened? Xia Jiuyo's face was somewhat pale. His eyes were staring ahead as though he was confronting something. Lin Xian was puzzled. He couldn't sense anything. A moment later, he activated his heavenly secret god eye and his golden gaze swept over. The void was torn apart and a wind blew past. Who was it? Lin Xian waved his hand and grabbed nothing. However, at that moment, he discovered that there were a few footprints on the ground. It was pitch black. Someone had come here and was confronting Xia Jiuyo. Who was it? Lin Xian took the lead to look at Xia Jiuyo. He had set up countless arrays in the surroundings. However, Xia Jiuyo said that it was useless. He hadn't expected it to be them. They were indeed still alive. Lin Xian was even more puzzled. Who exactly was it? One had to know that although Xia Jiuyo's vitality wasn't much now, he had been invincible when he was at his peak. Even on the buried Emperor Star, there probably weren't many who could contend with him. One could imagine how terrifying the existence that had shocked him was. They were from the underworld. The underworld. Lin Xian was stunned. Wasn't that an assassin organization? There were terrifying assassins. Lin Xian's face darkened. Xia Jiuyo said that assassins were one of the members of the underworld, but not all of them. For example, the Heavenly Court also had an assassin organization. However, that was only a part of it. Lin Xian was astonished. He asked, could it be that the underworld is in existence like the Heavenly Court? Xia Jiuyo nodded. It was more or less the same. Back when he was at his peak, he had contended against them. Lin Xian sucked in a breath of cold air. Although he had never seen the Heavenly Court, he had heard of it. The Heavenly Court had the heaven-devouring jar, countless ancient cultivation techniques, and the 12 Dao palaces. It was truly an organization with countless experts and geniuses. He hadn't expected the underworld to be so terrifying. Xia Jiuyo continued to say shocking things. The Heavenly Court had a great emperor, and so did the underworld. The one who had created the Heavenly Court was called the Heavenly Emperor. The one who had created the underworld was called the Underworld Emperor. The Underworld Emperor's ultimate weapon was the Book of Life and Death. It could control the life and death of tens of thousands of worlds. Although the Underworld Emperor had died, the Book of Life and Death had been passed down. Xia Jiuyo's every word shocked Lin Xian even more. The Book of Life and Death could reap one's soul and take one's life. Were these people here to take Xia Jiuyo's life? Xia Jiuyo sighed. The heavenly Tao was heartless. No one could escape from the cycle of life and death. However, we cultivate to prolong our lives as much as possible. Therefore, there was the immortal divine medicine and the second life. Now that I have been nourished by the heavenly spring of life, my vitality has begun to recover. My reincarnation from the dead has naturally destroyed the will of the heavenly Tao. This also attracted the attention of the underworld. That was why they sent an emissary here. Was there no other way? Lin Xian frowned. It wasn't easy for him to obtain the heavenly spring of life. Xia Jiuyo said that there was still a way. They were called the underworld, but they were only some powerful saints. They weren't gods or immortals. Chapter 49-77. Lin Xian understood and heaved a sigh of relief. What Xia Jiuyo had said about the life and death book and the underworld emperor had frightened him. That was why he had imagined them to be existences that surpassed everything. Now, it seemed like these were just titles. They were people just like the Heavenly Court and the Purple Mansion. It was just that their cultivation techniques and abilities were a little strange. Since they were people, how could they be dealt with? They could be killed. I want to see if the life and death book can bring them back to life when their bodies and souls are destroyed. Xia Jiuyo's eyes also emitted a biting cold radiance. Since there was hope, how could he give up? He said, "Give me 2 more springs and I'll recover faster. When I'm stronger, I'll be able to enter your world. By then, they won't be able to enter." Lin Xian heaved a sigh of relief when he heard this. However, his expression turned solemn in the next moment. Xia Jiuyo had said, before that, you have to be able to withstand 3 attacks. 3 attacks. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he took a deep breath. Don't worry. Leave it to me. I won't let anyone hurt you. He sat down cross-legged outside the cave. He didn't tell the Sacred Hall or the Divine Union. The Hell's emissary came and went without a trace. It was very mysterious and strange. The night turned dark. A chilly wind blew and Su Qing opened his eyes abruptly. He felt his hair stand on end. Golden flames danced in his eyes as he looked ahead. The entire world changed in his eyes. He could see even more clearly. He realized that there was indeed a blurry figure walking over. This person was wearing a black robe and emanating a deathly aura. He was shaking a chain in his hand. However, he couldn't hear him at all. Perhaps only Xia Jiuyo could hear this voice. The Hell's emissary flew toward Xia Jiuyo. He didn't pay attention to Lin Xian at all, as if he didn't exist. Lin Xian waved his hand and a sword aura cut through the sky, blocking the other party's path. The Hell's emissary stopped in front. When he saw the golden flames in Lin Xian's eyes, he said in a low voice, "Young man, can you see me?" "Of course. Not only can I see you, but I'll also stop you." "You?" "Ha ha ha ha. Hell reaps your soul and the Nitya Hellguard reaps your life. You can't stop that. How dare you interfere with the affairs of the underworld? I'll take your soul away and send it to hell for all eternity." His voice was filled with a terrifying power. That was the aura of death, sweeping towards Lin Xian. Lin Xian sneered. The law of death also condensed around him. When the two of them collided, it was like 2 mountains clashing. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Elder Xia was right. You guys are just humans who have cultivated special techniques and abilities. There's nothing to be surprised about. You've also cultivated the law of death. The underworld emissary was shocked. But soon, he sneered. You're too naive. Since we're both death laws, I'll let you know the difference between us. Since you dare to stand in the way of hell's business, I'll take your soul away. The chain in his hand flew forward. Lin Xian could feel a huge shackling force enveloping him. It was a force that suppressed his soul. Soul chains. In his eyes, golden radiance ignited heaven and earth, burning fiercely, blocking those chains. The entire chain shook violently. The underworld emissary's expression changed again. What a strong soul aura. Those eyes. He stared at Lin Xian's eyes and frowned. "Young man, are you really not going to move aside?" Lin Xian didn't say anything this time. Instead, he took the initiative to attack. "Take a punch from me too." The golden fist punched out, shattering heaven and earth. The underworld emissary sneered. "It's useless. You can't hurt me." But as soon as he finished speaking, his hair stood on end and he retreated in horror. Damn it, the power of reincarnation. "Who are you?" Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back and said loudly. "You don't need to know who I am. But today, you can forget about stepping into this cave." The underworld emissary was also angry. He roared like a ghost. Behind him, endless death aura appeared and condensed into an illusion. It was the deep and serene hell. Countless resentful spirits of hell rushed out from the 9 serenities hell. The terrifying aura made one's scalp tingle. The power of the 9 serenities hell came again with the 2 soul chains. Lin Xian's body rushed into the sky with a monstrous sword light. Slash! His sword was capable of destroying everything. With a slash of the sword, countless resentful spirits were all split apart. The 2 soul chains were also sent flying, and cracks appeared on them. The underworld emissary was shocked. Damn it, this kid is so strange. After Lin Xian slashed out, the 9 yang divine body bloomed beside him, surrounded by the illusion of 9 suns. The power of the purest yang swept in all directions. As soon as this power came out, the 9 serenities hell on the opposite side instantly shook. Black smoke rose from it, and countless resentful spirits screamed miserably. Damn it, the purest yang physique. The underworld emissary's expression changed. This physique was specially used to suppress them. Young man, good. Very good. You have completely offended us. Just wait for the anger of the underworld. This person didn't attack again. His body slowly disappeared and then disappeared. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He didn't care about this threat. Then, he sat down cross-legged again, took out a pill, and swallowed it to recover. 3 days later, he opened his eyes. He felt the second figure coming. That's right, the second underworld emissary had arrived. This person's appearance was similar to the previous one, but his weapon was different. Previously, the other party used the soul chains. This time, the other party was holding a death scythe. The pitch-black death scythe emitted a demonic aura that frightened people from the soul. He turned into smoke and rushed over, arriving in front of Lin Xian in an instant. The death scythe slashed down. Boom! A pitch-black crack was torn in the void, spreading in all directions and enveloping Lin Xian. An extremely terrifying death aura emerged from the other party's body. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He wasn't afraid. He took out the Great Destruction and attacked the death scythe. With a clang, flames danced. However, at this moment, his pupils shrank. He found that there were 4 killing swords behind him, directly attacking him. Assassins and top assassins. Lin Xian's face darkened. This was the assassin of the underworld, not the weak of the mortal world. Poof! The 4 killing swords suddenly attacked and hit Lin Xian's back, sending Lin Xian flying. Lin Xian's blood boiled. His face turned pale, and his body fell forward. At this moment, the underworld emissary sneered. A black chain appeared in his hand, and directly tied Lin Xian's body, fixing him in midair. Ignorant ant, how dare you fight against the underworld? I will make you regret it for the rest of your life. The death scythe was raised high and fell down. Poof! Blood splattered, and the body in front of him was split in half. It couldn't withstand a single blow. Looking at the broken body, the underworld emissary sneered and withdrew the death scythe. However, in the next moment, his body trembled, and he lowered his head in disbelief. Chapter 4978. Impossible. The Hell Messenger was shocked. Wasn't the kid in front of him cut in half? How could he still attack him? He abruptly turned around and discovered that Lin Xian was completely unharmed. Damn it, how could this be? Could it be a clone? No. It's an illusion. I was in an illusion just now. When the Hell Messenger saw those cold eyes, he instantly understood. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Damn it, this young man's eye technique was so powerful that even he fell for it. What made him even more frightened was that he couldn't move at all. His body was pierced by the spear of destruction, and an invincible sword intent poured into his body. It seemed to be able to destroy all the power in his body. You want to use such strength to suppress me? What a joke. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The Hell Messenger roared crazily. Kid, don't be too proud. No matter how strong a person is, he can't compete with Hell. Is that so? I don't know if I can compete with the entire Hell, but killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. A terrifying killing intent surged from Lin Xian's body. The Hell Messenger's face changed drastically. You dare to kill me? If you kill me, you will become the enemy of Hell. However, it was useless. No matter how he threatened, he couldn't change Lin Xian's mind. Just as Lin Xian was about to make his move, the sound of a gong rang out from afar. Following that, the entire void shattered. The emissary of Hell was stunned. His body was also torn to pieces by the sound. He turned into black mist and quickly reformed in the distance. The Death Reaper. Great, you're here. The Death Sickle was very excited. Lin Xian frowned. Someone else came. The first two took his soul, and the last one took his life. His face sank. A figure walked out from the front. It was an old man. His face was pale, without a trace of blood. He carried a black flag on his back and held a gong in his hand. The sound just now came from it. After the old man arrived, he looked at the Hell Messenger and frowned. What happened? Did he fail again? This kid is too strange. His soul eye technique is very powerful, and he even knows how to make terrifying sword intent. Humph, trash. The old man snorted. The Hell's emissary lowered his head and begged for forgiveness. Forget it, I'll do it myself. The old man walked forward, but he didn't enter the cave. He directly struck the gong. Clang. A deep voice rang out, making people feel as if their souls were about to leave their sheets. Lin Xian also felt his soul shake. His eyes erupted with radiance as he forcefully suppressed it. At the same time, he roared angrily. Countless dragon-shaped sword chi shot out and slashed forward. Useless brat, with your sword, you can't use my voice. The old man from Hell was very confident, but as soon as he finished speaking, he was slapped in the face. Under the sword chi, his voice quickly became softer and softer before disappearing completely. What's going on? The old man's face darkened. His opponent's sword chi was indeed very strange. No wonder you failed the previous 2 times. You do have some strength. Looks like I have to use some tricks. The black flag on his back shone with a demonic radiance. Then, it transformed into 2 large black hands that reached out to grab him. Lin Xian's eyes also exploded with a cold killing intent. Previously, Xia Jiuyo had said that he would block 3 attacks, which meant that the underworld would send 3 envoys. Now, it was already the 3rd. As long as he could block this person's attack, there wouldn't be any danger in the underworld for a short time. Lin Xian brandished Apocalypse and slashed forward with the dragon-shaped sword Qi, colliding with the large black hands. The large flag suddenly transformed into a black snake and coiled around. Seal! The old man roared angrily. The large black snake transformed into countless seals that covered the sky and earth, sealing everything. Then, the old man sneered and struck the gong again. Another clanging sound rang out. In his opinion, he had already sealed the other party. His large black flag was also an incredible weapon. It would definitely be difficult for the other party to escape. However, the sound still didn't reach him. Countless black vortexes appeared in the surroundings and directly swallowed the sound. Lin Xian's voice still sounded. "You want to seal me with a mere seal? You're too naive." Boom! The Apocalypse spear shone brightly as if the black dragon had come to life and directly tore apart the seals in the sky. The sword Qi in front of him continued to erupt and soared into the sky. Lin Xian swept out like a peerless sword god. Boom! He charged towards the large black flag. The old man's expression changed. He formed a seal with one hand and waved it behind him. The black flag flew out and danced in the sky, resisting the Apocalypse spear. At the same time, the gong in his hand changed direction and charged towards Lin Xian. The soul shattered. The sound changed. Previously, it was the sound of summoning souls. Now, it was the sound of destroying souls. Lin Xian felt that his 7 orifices were about to bleed and his soul was about to shatter. He released the power of reincarnation and transformed it into a reincarnation millstone that crushed out. At the same time, he formed a seal with his palms. Seal of the Fearless Lion. The berserk lion roared angrily between heaven and earth. Lin Xian opened and closed, fighting a great battle with it. So powerful. The scythe-wielding emissary of the underworld was dumbfounded. It seemed that the other party could kill him effortlessly just now. The old man's expression was even colder. He was actually such a difficult opponent. Was he a top genius? When he thought of that, he was furious. No one has ever dared to stop us, not even the top geniuses. Hell descended. The old man roared angrily. Countless black talismans appeared around him and began to burn. The surroundings instantly darkened, and the 9th hell descended once again. The emissary of the underworld had used this method before, but its power was 10 times stronger than before. It seemed to have enveloped the entire world. The people of the Temple of the Gods felt that the sky had suddenly darkened. A chilly wind blew past, causing their bodies to tremble. The old man of hell seemed to have turned into the god of hell as he looked at Lin Xian. Suppress, 18 levels of hell. Lin Xian felt the ground beneath his feet crack open. It was as if there was a force pulling him underground. He stomped his feet, and the terrifying power of his divine body transformed into a divine dragon that bombarded the crack. At the same time, he soared into the sky. So what if the underworld has descended? I'll split it open with my sword. The sword Qi in Lin Xian's hand became more and more terrifying, and it let out a terrifying dragon roar. Then, he held the sword with both hands and slashed down. Boom! The descending 9th hell began to shake again, and cracks appeared on its surface. Then, it split in half from the middle. How could this be? The old man's pupils constricted. He fell to the ground on his back and vomited blood. What kind of sword technique was that? It could split the 9th hell apart. It was unbelievable. Lin Xian slashed again, and the old man's body was split in half. He realized that the power was preventing his body from healing. Lin Xian walked over in a domineering manner like a demonic god. All sorts of ultimate skills were unleashed continuously. Aren't you from the underworld? Don't you have the Book of Life and Death? Let's see if you can be resurrected after death. Chapter 4979. Dead. The Hell's emissary with the scythe was terrified. You're finished. How dare you kill someone from the underworld? You're dead meat. He roared in fear and even gradually dimmed, as if he was about to disappear. Lin Xian's eyes were emitting a terrifying radiance. After obtaining the reincarnation bone, his reincarnation power was even more terrifying. His eyes turned into two blades of reincarnation power. They directly pierced through the Hell's emissary's body. 6 paths of reincarnation. With a scream, the Hell's emissary disappeared. The two of them were dead. Blood mist danced and turned into 2 blood-red talismans, which quickly floated towards Lin Xian. This scene was very sudden. Lin Xian was startled. He quickly retreated and slapped forward at the same time. The 2 talismans were sent flying. Then, the 2 talismans were between heaven and earth, surrounded by black gas again. The ground cracked open, and a black eye suddenly opened. However, the eye seemed to have the light of a demon god, piercing through heaven and earth. It enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian was facing a great enemy. He roared and activated the heavenly secret god eyes to the extreme to resist. At the same time, he was shocked. What kind of eye was that? It was too terrifying. In the mansion, Xia Jiuyo was also alarmed and suddenly came out. When he saw the black eye, his face changed. Hell's evil eye. He quickly retreated and slapped forward. At the same time, the Hell's evil eye also emitted a terrifying gaze. It charged towards Lin Xian. Xia Jiuyo's palm covered the sky and earth. At this moment, he had recovered a little. The power was really terrifying. In an instant, the Hell's evil eye's gaze was shattered. At the same time, the Hell's evil eye was smashed into pieces and turned into black gas. Did it disappear? The Hell's evil eye heaved a sigh of relief. Lin Xian behind it roared. Damn it, he felt that something was wrong. His back was very painful, as if he had been stabbed by something. Xia Jiuyo hurriedly tore off his armor and gasped in shock. A black vertical eye appeared on Lin Xian's back, like a demonic rune. Why would the infernal evil eye appear on Lin Xian? Could it be that he was being watched? Xia Jiuyo's brows were tightly knitted together. Lin Xian could naturally sense it as well. His face darkened when he heard that, and he shouted coldly. The great dragon sword spirit in his body spun quickly, and he attacked the infernal evil eye on his back, trying to destroy it. The infernal evil eye released a terrifying black light to resist the attack. For a moment, it actually blocked the great dragon sword spirit. Lin Xian was even more shocked. What was this? It was so strange. Xia Jiuyo had said that the infernal evil eye was very strange and had existed in the archaic era. Furthermore, it was said that it existed when the underworld was first established, so it was very strange. What should he do? Lin Xian furrowed his brows. He hadn't expected hell to be so strange. Xia Jiuyo took a deep breath. It seemed like he had to make a trip there. Initially, he thought that he could make a trip there alone. I didn't expect to have to bring you along this time. Lin Xian was shocked. Where were they going? Xia Jiuyo said to go to the underworld. Hell. Lin Xian was even more shocked. Xia Jiuyo nodded. I wanted to go there to get something, but now you're being targeted by the infernal evil eye. It seems like you have to go there personally. Because only then can we break the eye on your back. Otherwise, once it acts up, it might take your life. It was so terrifying. Lin Xian was shocked. Xia Jiuyo said it was very terrifying. 100,000 years ago, there were two people who fought for the throne. Both of them had hopes of becoming a great emperor. However, one of them was targeted by someone from the underworld and had the infernal evil eye. Later on, he died mysteriously. Therefore, you have to take it seriously. Lin Xian was silent. After a while, he said, I understand. Next, Lin Xian and Xia Juyo began to recover and prepare to head to the underworld. Lin Xian also told Bai Su Su and the others to stay here for the time being. He had something to do. The dark red dragon asked, Kid, do you need us to go with you? Lin Xian thought about it and said, No, I can handle it myself. This time, he didn't know what kind of danger he would encounter in the underworld. Therefore, he still hoped that fewer people would go. Xia Juyo's vitality recovered a lot. He formed a hand seal and began to build a huge spatial array in the void. Lin Xian could feel the terrifying spatial power from it. Needless to say, the teleportation distance this time should be very far. He asked Senior, where is the underworld? Xia Juyo said, in the universe, there is a dark galaxy. There are endless worlds in it. The underworld was there. The entire dark galaxy was controlled by the underworld. Lin Xian was astonished when he heard this. A galaxy. That was an endless world. The underworld's foundation was truly terrifying. However, he soon thought of another possibility. The heavenly court was no weaker than the underworld. That was to say. In other words, there must be another galaxy in the universe that belonged to the heavenly court. He originally thought that the resources he had obtained from a few worlds were already a lot, but now it seemed that he was still lacking a lot. However, according to Xia Juyo, his world seemed to be more important than all the time in the galaxy. This made Lin Xian even more determined to fully revive the Sword World. After the spatial array was set up, Lin Xian and Xia Juyo walked over and started the teleportation. In an instant, endless spatial cracks appeared in the sky of the true spirit world. Countless people looked up. What was happening? Some people were shocked. Was someone going to teleport so far? Who was it? In that direction. They investigated, but all the phenomena had disappeared. Lin Xian and Xia Juyo had already left the true spirit world. The two of them shuttled through the spatial tunnel. Every time, the surrounding stars would change, but it was about the same every time. In the cold universe, darkness dominated. The light emitted by the surrounding stars was not enough to illuminate everything. Fortunately, Xia Juyo was too strong, so after a few shuttles, they had already left the true spirit world. However, at this moment, the sky shook and the earth shook. The spatial tunnel was about to shatter. Not good. Xia Juyo's face changed. Lin Xian said, Is someone watching me? Xia Juyo shook his head. No, the possibility is very small. I think we must have encountered some special situation. Let's go. They tore through the void and fled quickly. The original spatial tunnel kept shattering. The two of them appeared in the universe and looked around. Xia Juyo's eyes flickered. They had not arrived yet. Then, he turned his head and looked into the distance. It turned out that they had destroyed the spatial tunnel. Lin Xian also looked into the distance. He activated the heavenly secret god eye and found that there was a battle in the distance. Moreover, it was very terrifying. Chapter 4980. On the other side, there were 5 war chariots. They were completely black and carried an extremely terrifying aura of death. The war chariots were being chased. Xia Juyo said that the beast was called the Earth Devil and liked to eat corpses. Needless to say, the 5 war chariots must have been obtained by the underworld. They carried a lot of corpses, which was why the Earth Devil attacked them. Should we charge over or take a detour? Or wait? Lin Xian asked. Xia Jiuyo thought for a moment. No, I changed my mind. I thought of a better idea. Then, Xia Jiuyo said this idea. It turned out that he was preparing to hide himself and then let Lin Xian change his identity and aura to get close to the 5 war chariots. Then, he would use the name of joining the underworld and entering the underworld. The underworld would recruit a batch of geniuses every once in a while to take the test. If they met the requirements, they would stay for training and become a member of the underworld. Lin Xian would not arouse suspicion if he used this name. Then, Lin Xian asked. After entering, how could he get rid of the evil eye of hell on his back? He could find something related to Xidigarba. Xidigarba. Lin Xian was puzzled, but then he understood that it was the existence that suppressed the 18 levels of hell. Legend has it that if I don't enter hell, who will? Could it be that he still had to go to the 18 levels of hell? Lin Xian frowned. Xia Jiuyo said that it was not certain. You might not find Xidigarba personally. You might find his statue or something he used. As for other methods, he was not sure for the time being. However, he could enter the underworld first and investigate. Lin Xian nodded, indicating that he understood. Next, he brought Xia Jiuyo into the sword world and let him continue to recover in the heavenly spring of life. As for him, he changed his appearance and aura and flew forward. He chose a very good route. He quickly approached one of the war chariots. Everyone, save me. He looked very anxious. The people on the war chariot also frowned. Who are you? Why are you here? Lin Xian said, I was going to teleport, but I didn't expect the space tunnel to shatter. I had no choice but to fall. The void land. Everyone, please help me. The monsters behind are too scary. Why should I help you? The people from the underworld snorted coldly and remained unmoved. They were all cold existences and would not casually help others. Lin Xian said, I know you're from the underworld, because this time, I originally wanted to join the underworld and become their killer. I'm here for the assessment. Oh, you're here for the assessment. This time, one of the old men raised his eyebrows and looked carefully at Lin Xian. The cultivation of a saint king. Lin Xian said, that's right. Senior, please let me go. Okay, you do it. There was only one person, and these people were not afraid that it was a trap, so they opened the chariot and allowed the other party to come. Thank you. Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Great, I've finally succeeded. What's your name? Where did it come from? The old man began to ask. Lin Xian had already thought about it. He named a planet and a clan, and then said, my name is Lin. Alright, you should go and rest first. Someone will bring you to the assessment later. Lin Xian was brought into the chariot. The chariot was very big, and there was a special resting room inside. After entering, Lin Xian found that there were many people inside. These people's auras were not so cold, and it was obvious that they were also here for the assessment. When they found out that Lin Xian was also here for the assessment, their eyes were filled with hostility, and even a trace of killing intent. After all, every participant was a competitor. Finally, the 5 chariots escaped the pursuit of the Earth Devil and entered the Dark Star system. It was also the territory of the underworld. After entering, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Then, someone snorted coldly. The Earth Devil was too despicable. When they returned, they would report to the underworld and let the experts of the underworld kill it. Lin Xian remained silent at the side. He rarely spoke, but he had heard a lot of news and gained a better understanding of the underworld. There were countless experts in the underworld. The underworld was created by the underworld emperor, so the person with the highest position was the underworld emperor. Of course, this position was currently empty because no one had become the underworld emperor. Under the underworld emperor, there were many terrifying existences, and they were divided into different factions. For example, Yellow Springs, Limbo, Mengpe, the 18 levels of hell, and the 10 Yama kings. These were all peak experts. They all had huge forces behind them, and they represented different factions. Thus, the entire underworld was formed. After hearing this, Lin Xian was shocked. He secretly went against the Heavenly Court, and found out that the Heavenly Court had 12 Dao palaces, Southern Heaven Gate, and Heavenly Soldiers and Heavenly Generals. Other than these, there were definitely other factions. There was also the Purple Palace, which was also mysterious and terrifying. Lin Xian asked Xia Jiuyo which faction to choose after entering. Xia Jiuyo said that he could choose the 18 levels of hell or the 10 Yama kings. That's right. The underworld and the power of reincarnation are somewhat related. You can also borrow this power to cultivate your reincarnation power. If you succeed, when you return to the buried Emperor Star, you can directly go to the top of the Sacred Abyss Tower and participate in the coronation. After hearing this, Lin Xian was stunned. He took a deep breath and clenched his fists. He didn't expect that he would have such a good opportunity on this trip to the underworld. If he really succeeded, he would be able to catch up to the Dragon Prince and Kunping Zi in the shortest time possible. At that time, he would be able to compete with them. Of course, the most important thing now was to remove the infernal evil eye on his back. Lin Xian decided to go to the 18 levels of hell. After entering, an old man asked where Lin Xian and the others went. Lin Xian said that after the 18 levels of hell. The old man said, "Wait, someone will take you there very soon." The others also split into several groups according to their own wishes. Many people walked towards Lin Xian. Clearly, they also wanted to join the 18 levels of hell. These people's auras and strength were also very powerful. They looked at Lin Xian with disdain. They could tell that Lin Xian's cultivation was inferior to theirs. Moreover, they didn't feel any terrifying killing intent from Lin Xian. Such a person was no different from an ant coming here to seek his own death. Lin Xian and the others had a total of 40 people. After waiting for a while, they were taken away. They were brought to a world. These people had to pass the test first before they could join. 2 days later, someone came. A black-robed woman wearing a mask stared at Lin Xian and the others with flickering eyes. She smiled. "I have an extra opportunity here. If anyone wants, they can stay." An extra opportunity. The others' eyes lit up when they heard this. One must know that although they were geniuses from all over the universe, they also knew how difficult it was to join the underworld. It would be good if 10% of them could pass. In the end, only one person could pass. Now that there was an extra opportunity, how could they not be excited? "What kind of opportunity is it?" someone asked. Even Lin Xian raised his head in surprise. Chapter 4981. The woman in front smiled. "I need 3 cauldrons." As soon as she said that, the expressions of the surrounding people changed. The cauldron top was not a good job. She would definitely absorb their strength and vitality. In the long run, they would die. Many people quickly shook their heads. Lin Xian also sighed. He would not consider it either. It seemed that he could only participate in the test. The woman in black sneered. "Looks like you guys are not willing. I'll choose myself. You, and you. The 3 of you come out and follow me." The expressions of the 2 people who were chosen changed. Even Lin Xian frowned because the woman also pointed at him. He did not stand up. Instead, he said calmly, "I advise you to choose someone else. Otherwise, you will regret it." "Kid, what did you say? Are you threatening me?" The woman in black turned around and smiled. The people around her also emitted cold killing intent. The surrounding people snorted. Among these people, they did not think highly of Lin Xian because Lin Xian's cultivation aura was the weakest. But now, the person they did not think highly of dared to resist. Did he want to die quickly? The other two people who were chosen also shook their heads and sighed. Even people as strong as them did not dare to resist. Where did this kid get his courage from? "I've chosen you today. What can you do to me? You're just a newcomer. It's not certain whether you can stay here or not. And I'm from the underworld. My words are orders. I can control your life. Do you understand? You want to control me?" Lin Xian sneered. "I'm afraid you don't have the right." "Humph. I haven't been here for a long time. Who will teach such a bad-tempered newcomer a lesson?" The woman in black looked at the people around her. This time, she did not come alone. Instead, she brought a group of experts with her. Clearly, her status was not ordinary. "Let me teach him a lesson." A withered old man walked out. Both of his arms were black as ink, and carried an extremely terrifying aura. Dark ghost hands. Many people couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air when they saw this. They hadn't seen this before, but it was like thunder in their ears. This pair of hands was extremely difficult to master. Once it was mastered, a single claw could easily turn a Saint King into ashes. Now that the old man had mastered it, none of them were a match for him. Seeing that someone recognized him, the old man had a smug look on his face. He looked at Lin Xian and smiled. "Kid, are you regretting it now? If you regret it, obediently kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake, then you can still live. Sigh, brother, just accept your fate." The other two people who had been chosen also said. Being a cultivation furnace might not necessarily lead to death, but it would cause one's cultivation to stagnate. However, it was still better to be killed. The people around them also shook their heads. In their opinion, Lin Xian could not resist at all. "Regret?" Lin Xian smiled. "Why should I regret it? This kid was really stubborn." The surrounding examinees shook their heads and sighed. They knew that this kid's fate would be very miserable. The face of the old man in front of him also darkened. Did he refuse a toast? "Then I'll make you regret it." He roared angrily and stretched out his black palm. The ghostly hand swept across heaven and earth. Around him, an extremely terrifying phenomenon of heaven and earth appeared. Countless Tao patterns interweaved in the surroundings as if they could destroy everything. "Retreat quickly." The surrounding people felt that their souls were about to be torn apart and retreated in horror. At this moment, an empty space appeared around them. Only Lin Xian was still sitting there. Facing such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian was still not afraid. His eyes flashed with a cold light. He raised a finger and pointed forward. His movements were very light and slow. However, an extremely cold sword light flew out from his fingertip. Boom boom. The two collided. The ghostly hand was originally unstoppable, but at this moment, it was pierced through. Not only that, this sword light pierced through the palm and charged towards the old man in black. The old man in black's palm was pierced. He screamed and quickly retreated. However, he did not expect that the power this time was far beyond his imagination. In an instant, the sword light was in front of him and directly pierced through his forehead. Poof! He fell on his back and snowflakes appeared on his forehead. Until his death, he did not believe that he would be killed in one move. The surrounding people gasped. What was going on? Was he dead? The ghostly hand was broken. Not only that, but the old man was also killed in an instant. How could this be? At this moment, the candidates felt their bodies turn cold. They looked at Lin Xian with horror. This was the person they did not think highly of the most, but his power was completely above them. The woman in black was also stunned. She did not dare to believe that the people she brought were all experts, especially the old man who attacked. The ghostly hand of darkness had been trained for thousands of years. Its power was so terrifying, but now it was killed. You dare to kill him? The woman in black roared. She was very angry and felt like she had been slapped in the face. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Get lost or die. You! How dare you! The person who dares to go against the Ghost Eye clan has not been born yet. You will definitely die. Attack! Kill him for me. A few more people walked out from behind the woman in black. One of them was a woman with a black bell in her hand. There were a few ghost heads painted on it. They were ferocious and had green faces and fangs. The bell of the Ghost King. This bell could also steal one's vitality. When the 4 ghost heads shook, they could directly devour one's soul and blood. It would not take long for one to become a skeleton. After the woman took out the bell of the Ghost King, she began to activate it. An extremely terrifying sound and the 4 ghost heads charged towards Lin Xian. In an instant, they enveloped him. The 4 ghost heads wanted to devour Lin Xian's body and soul. Humph! Lin Xian sneered. How dare you devour me? He secretly activated the sky-devouring jar. 4 black vortexes appeared around him and directly swallowed the 4 ghost heads. The 4 ghost heads seemed to have discovered the most terrifying thing and wanted to escape. However, the black vortexes directly enveloped them. In an instant, the phenomenon and ghost heads between heaven and earth disappeared. Pfft! The woman in front of him vomited blood and her face turned pale. How was that possible? How could you break it? She was too shocked. Her sacred artifact was broken and she suffered a backlash. She was injured. At this moment, the ground behind Lin Xian split open and a white bone sword pierced towards his back. The one who attacked was also a skeleton. There were ghost flames dancing in its eyes. Hee, kid, go to hell. With his strength, this sword could completely pierce through the opponent. When the opponent was seriously injured, there would only be one outcome. That was death. Facing the fatal sword from behind, Lin Xian did not even turn his head. It was as if he did not see it at all. When the woman in black saw this, the corners of her mouth curled into a smile. It was over. Chapter 4982. Facing the white bone sword, Lin Xian didn't move at all. He didn't even care. The sword collided with his body, emitting a deafening sound. Under the shocked gazes of countless people, the white bone sword broke into countless pieces. That white skeleton was also directly shattered by the rebounding force, turning into powder. Countless people looked at this scene and gasped. They were all stunned. How strong was this person's physique? Lin Xian looked up at the black-clothed woman in front of him and smiled. Do you still want to continue? The black-clothed woman felt as if she had fallen into an ice cave. Her expression became extremely frightened. This person's strength was far beyond her imagination. The people she brought were no match for him at all. She gritted her teeth. Damn brat, just you wait. The Ghost Eye clan won't let you go. She snorted coldly and turned to leave. The surrounding people also sighed. The Ghost Eye clan was an extremely terrifying clan in the underworld. Their ghost eyes were incomparably evil. Now that this young man had offended such a huge clan, as soon as he arrived, he would probably end up in a miserable state. Lin Xian snorted coldly after hearing this. You really don't know what's good for you. If you had knelt on the ground and kowtowed to apologize, I could have considered sparing your life. However, you actually dared to threaten me. Do you really think that I don't dare to kill you? At the end of his words, a biting cold murderous intent appeared on Lin Xian's body. How dare you? The black-clothed woman roared crazily. However, in the next moment, she was terrified. Damn it, she saw a sword aura coming towards her. Puff! In an instant, the black-clothed woman was split in half. She let out a miserable cry. The surrounding people were terrified. Did this young man kill her just like that? Was he really not afraid of offending the Ghost Eye clan? No. I can't accept this. The black-clothed woman roared crazily. Her eyes turned gray as she used the last of her bloodline power. Grandpa, save me. An extremely terrifying gray cloud appeared in the void. In the next moment, an angry roar was heard. Who dares to hurt my granddaughter? As soon as these words came out, the surrounding people's scalps went numb. Not good, retreat quickly. These people quickly retreated. The person who came had the aura of the great sage, and there was also a biting cold killing intent. If they really fought, it was very likely that they would be killed in an instant. All of them had fled. In the next instant, an old man appeared. He had a pair of ghostly eyes with green flames flickering in them. The surrounding sky and earth were collapsing. Fortunately, those people ran away quickly. Otherwise, they might have really died. Grandpa, save me. The woman in black became very weak. Don't worry, with me here, no one can hurt you. He displayed great confidence. With a wave of his hand, endless laws enveloped the black-robed woman. However, in the next moment, he was stunned because the black-clothed woman's soul suddenly split open, and the originally dim sword chi suddenly erupted. The woman in black was slashed into nothingness. At the same time, a faint voice rang out, "Can you stop the person I want to kill? Damn it, how dare you make a move in front of me?" The old man turned his head, and the killing intent in his eyes continued to erupt. Boundless ghost chi and death chi appeared on his body. That pair of eyes could burn everything. After he came, he said that his granddaughter was absolutely safe. However, the other party instantly slapped him in the face. His granddaughter was killed in front of him. That method was so strange that it shocked him. Young man, you have completely angered me. I will let you know the taste of living a life worse than death. Those who had fled into the distance retreated again. In front of them had become the holy land of the great sage. Whoever entered would be instantly turned into ashes. They were terrified. Do you think that kid can still be alive? How is that possible? He will definitely die. No matter how powerful the Holy King was, he couldn't compete with the great sage. Not necessarily. If he had a heaven-defying treasure in his hands, he might be able to compete with the great sage. Some people shook their heads. That was an ordinary great sage. They underestimated the ghostly eyes race. Their eyes were extremely terrifying existences in this region. This kid was definitely dead. In front. Lin Xian also stood up and said indifferently, "Your granddaughter is courting death. She deserves to die. I advise you to leave quickly. Otherwise, you will also be buried with her in the 18 levels of hell. Aunt. You are just a holy king. How would you know the power of the great sage?" Even if you are a genius, you are not my match. Today, I will let you see. My ghostly eyes race's unique skill. That old man. The green flames in his eyes suddenly enlarged, and an extremely terrifying eye technique soul force swept forward. I will refine your soul into a ghost. I will make you unable to reincarnate. Eye technique. Lin Xian smiled. Coincidentally, I have also cultivated an eye technique. Why don't we compete? Hearing this, the old man's face darkened. You are courting death. I will send you on your way. The green light in his eyes completely exploded. It turned into 2 balls of ghost fire and flew over. Once a person's soul was enveloped, it would not disappear. Instead, it would be refined into a ghost. There would be no reincarnation. A golden light appeared in Lin Xian's eyes. The power of reincarnation appeared and turned into 2 reincarnation steels. They pressed forward. Boom! The green flames stopped 1 meter in front of Lin Xian. One of the reincarnation steels directly suppressed it. The green flames were instantly torn apart. How could this be? The ghostly eyes elder's pupils constricted. He took 2 steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood. His soul was injured. What was with the other party's golden eyes? How could they be so powerful? He knew that he had been careless. The young man in front of him was actually so terrifying. The other party's eye technique did not seem to be weaker than his. Damn it! He gritted his teeth and wanted to attack again, but it was already too late. The other reincarnation steels was still pressing down on him. Damn it! Block it for me. His ghost eye turned into a green flame that swept up into the sky. But in an instant, it was pierced through by the reincarnation steels. The ghostly eyes elder's body was sent flying while spitting out blood. He screamed crazily. His soul was severely injured. His eyes were also bleeding non-stop. Seeing this scene, Lin Xian shook his head. Your eye technique is really not that good. Damn it! The ghostly eyes elder roared crazily. He was actually injured, and his soul was severely injured. He was injured by a young man. He could not bear it. Who are you? What kind of eye technique did you cultivate? He roared crazily. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Ignorant thing. You can't even recognize my eye technique. It seems that you are also an ant. Lin Xian's words completely infuriated the other party. Kid, just you wait. You are dead meat. I will dig out your eyes. I will make you suffer a fate worse than death. As he spoke, the ghostly eyes elder fled into the distance. Lin Xian snorted coldly. You still want to leave? Reincarnation millstone. The heavenly secret divine eyes erupted once again. The gaze inside turned into a millstone that kept spinning. Every time it crushed, heaven and earth would shatter. An extremely strong soul storm swept in all directions. The ghostly eyes elder felt that his soul was cracking. Chapter 4983. The ghost eye elder was terrified. Was he, the great sage, going to die here? Damn it, how dare the other party kill him? Was he not afraid of the Ghost Eye clan's revenge? However, he had no way of knowing all of this. His soul had been scattered and he had completely fallen. However, before he died, he still roared crazily and let out a roar. Soul pursuit order. In the distance, the people who had escaped were still discussing when they suddenly realized that the sacred region in front of them was slowly disappearing. They knew that the battle was over and that kid was dead for sure. They wanted to wait a while before going over to investigate. However, at this moment, an unwilling roar came from the void. Kid, although I'm dead, the Ghost Eye clan will not let you off. Hearing this, their faces were filled with shock. What was going on? The great sage was dead. What a joke. Their faces were filled with madness. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He could already sense that there were countless powerful souls in the distance. They began to look over. The people of the Ghost Eye clan should have known. His body flashed and he decided to leave this place first. As expected, the people of the Ghost Eye clan roared crazily. The fall of the great sage was also a big deal to them. After all, it was the great sage. It was not easy for him to cultivate to this level. Every great sage was extremely powerful. It was difficult to kill a great sage in a battle of the same level unless several great sages ganged up on him. Now that a great sage had fallen, how could they not be shocked? In an instant, countless experts came over. However, they were destined to be disappointed. When they came, Lin Xian had already left. Only the fallen great sage was left. Damn it! They gritted their teeth and roared. Suddenly, they turned their heads and looked into the distance. There were still people there. They shouted coldly, "Get over here, all of you." Those people's faces became incomparably pale. They were in despair, and some even wanted to escape. However, the ghost fire in the sky directly descended, and a few souls instantly screamed. "Don't do it, we won't run." They begged for mercy frantically. After all these people arrived, the strong cultivator of the Ghost Eye clan asked coldly, "Who was it that killed our people?" It was a young man who was also here to take the assessment to join the Hell Assassins. Someone said. What? A young man? What kind of joke was this? How could a young man kill the great sage? Do you think we're easy to fool? A middle-aged man shouted angrily and turned the person who spoke into a bloody mist. The others felt their scalps go numb. But it was really a young man who killed him. In the end, the people of the Ghost Eye clan also frowned. No matter how they threatened him, these people said that he was a young man. Could he really be a young man? They were extremely puzzled. Some experts said, "Collect the souls." They collected the souls of these people. His brows furrowed tightly. It was indeed a young man. Damn it, who was it? Now that she knew his face, he would definitely not let her leave. The Ghost Eye clan mobilized countless experts and began to search for this young man. On the other side, after Lin Xian left that place, he quickly discovered that someone was chasing after him. However, he had already changed his appearance and aura. Therefore, when those people investigated, they didn't find anything. Lin Xian sneered. The people of the Ghost Eye clan didn't find anything either. They gritted their teeth. Some people said, "Send some people to continue searching. Also, we'll send people to the testing ground." Didn't those people say that he was preparing to participate in the Hell Assassin test? When the time comes, he will definitely appear for the test. As long as we watch from the testing ground, we'll see which top experts appear. When the time comes, we'll be able to lock onto the target. Okay. The people of the Ghost Eye clan began to move. On the other side, it was time for the test to begin. One had to know that there were many people who wanted to join the Hell Assassin organization. Because once selected, they could learn the supreme killing techniques of the Hell Assassin organization. There were also extremely terrifying hidden techniques. These techniques couldn't be detected by ordinary souls at all. As for the killing techniques, they could kill with one strike. It could be said that both of them were supreme techniques. Because of this, there were many people participating. The dozens of people who were with Lin Xian were only a part of them. The test was even more cruel. The test was very simple. Win 0 consecutive battles. Those who came to participate would fight with each other. As long as they could win 0 consecutive battles, they could become a member of the Hell Assassin organization. Those who came to participate in the test were all top geniuses. Winning 0 consecutive battles was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. In other words, the number of people who could successfully pass the test would be very few. Actually, this was very normal. For assassins, every time they moved out, they would definitely kill. To be able to kill people who were several realms higher than themselves, they would only fail to assassinate Lin Xian. In other situations, they would rarely fail. Many of the heads of the assassin temple were piled up by the great sage. It could be said that they were extremely terrifying. The battle had already begun. There were no rules. After all, they were selecting assassins. They could use any secret techniques or martial arts. They could even use poison or kill. As long as they failed, they would be severely injured at best. It was very likely that they would die. Once the battle began, a bloody mist spread out. Soon, corpses were carried away. The other people watched with solemn expressions. They knew that they couldn't be careless. The people from the Killer Temple looked at this scene and smirked. This was the effect they were looking for. The place of the test was called Azura Valley. At this moment, the ground was red and there were countless mountains around the valley. Those mountains formed spectator stands. At this moment, there were some people sitting on the spectator stands. Among them were the people of the Ghost Eye clan. The people of the Ghost Eye clan frowned. So far, they hadn't found the person they wanted. It wasn't that there weren't any experts here. It was that these experts had been famous for a long time and were very famous in the underworld. Look at that person. He had won more than 280 consecutive battles with a dagger. He was very powerful. Furthermore, he wasn't famous. He was very unfamiliar and worth paying attention to. The people of the Ghost Eye clan stared into the distance. There was indeed a young figure there. His face was ordinary, but his methods were extremely neat. There was another person who had also won more than 280 battles. He was almost at 290 battles. This person wore a blood-red robe and held a blood-red sword in his hand. Every time he stabbed, he would be able to absorb the opponent's blood and soul. It could be said that he was very terrifying. This person was also invincible. Those who fell into his hands all died. None of them could leave alive. Not only did the people of the Ghost Eye clan notice this, but others also noticed. Outside the valley, on a mountain peak, a man was sitting there. He was wearing battle armor. His eyes were filled with a sea of blood. He was very terrifying. Beside him was a woman wearing blood-red battle armor. She had a beautiful face, but her eyes were also filled with biting cold killing intent. At this moment, she stretched out her white hand and pointed in front of her. "Father, look. That person's strength is not bad. Furthermore, that sword of his should be a special saint weapon." They were pointing at the terrifying man with the blood-red sword. Chapter 4984. This person should be called Gui Qi. Shui Sha Sage's eyes flickered. Not bad. If he can achieve 300 consecutive victories and successfully break through, he can come to my blood slaughter camp. I will nurture him well. The lady in armor beside him was also laughing. 10 more battles and he should be able to break through and complete the test. The last 10 battles should not be a problem for him. They were waiting. Gui Qi swept his blood sword in all directions. He was a little excited. There were only 10 battles left. Although he knew that it would be more troublesome at the end, he did not care. With his strength, it was not a problem for him to pass the test. Who dares to fight with me? Guichi looked in all directions and shouted coldly. The surrounding people were silent. What a joke. If they fought with him, they would only end up dead. Moreover, he had already won 290 battles. Who would dare to fight with such a super expert? Even the great sage would not dare to fight with him. However, at this moment, a figure walked out from the crowd. He came to the Azura battlefield. Who is it? It must be an expert. To be able to go up until now, he must be a terrifying person. When they looked carefully, they were stunned. They realized that the person who went up was only a sage king. Moreover, he did not seem very strong. Such a person dares to challenge. Did he want to throw his life away? At this moment, someone from Murdering Palace walked out. He seemed to be the judge. He said coldly, "You are too weak. We suspect that you are here to give away your battle record. Get lost." The person who went up looked at the judge and smiled. "Senior, if I lose, you don't have to do anything. I will jump down to the 18 levels of hell. I will not give away my battle record. I am here to take his battle record." This person was none other than Lin Xian. After Lin Xian killed the Ghost Eye's great sage, he changed his appearance and aura again and came to the Azura battlefield. After watching some battles, he understood the rules. Therefore, he felt that it was time for him to make a move. The elder from Murdering Palace said, "All right, you said it. If I see that you are not as strong as him, I will not let you go. I won't let you get away with this." The old man warned and retreated to the side. He stared coldly at Lin Xian. He couldn't believe that this man could fight Ghost Weep. Ghost Weep, on the other hand, didn't care at all. She said, "Go ahead, I'll send you to hell." As he spoke, he slashed out with his sword. The overflowing sword light turned into a river, descending between heaven and earth. This was the water of the river of blood, enough to envelop everything. Lin Xian laughed. If the other party dared to act so casually in front of him, he would definitely be at a disadvantage. The boundless law of death in his hand condensed into a law sword that he held in his hand. The black sword light cut through the air and slashed forward as well. Whoosh! Clang! The two swords collided. Ghost Weep's smile froze. He felt that his opponent's sword chi was too strong. It swept towards him and enveloped his arm in an instant. In the next moment, the power of death burst out and took away all of the vitality on his arm. One of his arms was reduced to bones. Not only did it have the aura of death, but it also had an extremely strong power that directly cut off his arm. With a blood-curdling scream, he retreated non-stop. His blood splattered onto the Azura battlefield. He was injured. The surrounding people were also stunned. They all widened their eyes in disbelief. Previously, they were speculating. Lin Xian might not even be able to block one sword and would definitely die. But now, the one who was injured was Ghost Weep. The referee squinted his eyes. Fighting above his level. He was a genius. In the distance, on the spectator stand, the Blood Kill Saint was also surprised. He didn't expect another genius to appear. His daughter Shuai Linglong's beautiful eyes flashed. It was really exciting. This should be a fierce battle. Kid, you have completely angered me. Ghost Weep's arm was found again. This time, there were purple scales on it, as if it was the hand of hell. The strength of his arm was a few times stronger than before. At the same time, the blood sword in his hand released a demonic light as he slashed out. It was as if he had turned into a blood-colored shark, covering the sky and earth. This time, he didn't hold back at all. Lin Xian waved the law sword, which had an extremely sharp aura. There was also a low roar, which was the sound of a dragon. Clang! There was an intense collision sound. Then, Ghost Weep retreated again. His demonized arm was also trembling non-stop. The light on the blood sword dimmed. There were even cracks that appeared. This caused his pupils to contract fiercely. Damn it, what terrifying power, what sharp sword chi. Who are you? He spoke in a low voice. His opponent was so powerful, it was impossible for him to be unknown. If you want to know who I am, let's see if you are qualified. If you can make me take a step back, I will tell you my name. You are courting death. How dare you look down on me? Azure Dragon emerges from the sea. The blood-colored sword was waved non-stop, forming a sea of blood. Countless sword chi flew out from the sea of blood. It was as if countless azure dragons emerged from the sea. It was also an absolute art, and it was a sure kill move. This time, his opponent couldn't escape at all. He could only take it head-on. The others held their breaths in the face of such a terrifying sword. Would Lin Xian be able to withstand it? Lin Xian, on the other hand, burst into laughter. What kind of dragon is this? Let me tell you what a real dragon should be like. Behind Lin Xian, 10,000 dragons appeared and let out a terrifying dragon roar. Around him, the sky fell and the earth cracked. Then, each of the dragon silhouettes struck out a beam of sword light, also charging over in an overwhelming manner. The two killer moves collided again, and the entire Azura battlefield was completely destroyed. Countless black holes floated between heaven and earth. How was the battle? Everyone was extremely nervous. Even the experts from Killer Temple, Saint Blood Kill, and the others were curious and looking forward to it. After the sword, the black holes between heaven and earth slowly disappeared. Then, everyone was shocked. In the next moment, they exclaimed. They realized that Lin Xian stood there without retreating or moving. On the other side, Ghost Weep had indeed retreated far away, and there were many sword wounds on his body. Saint blood dripped from his wounds. Ghost Weep was injured again. Everyone exclaimed. Ghost Weep's face became extremely ugly. This person was actually stronger than him. Right now, his entire body was trembling. The sword chi was extremely cold. He couldn't recover from his injuries. Damn it. Was he going to lose today? Just as he was thinking, Lin Xian took a step forward. Take my sword. If I can survive, I will not attack again. The sword of law in Lin Xian's hand suddenly burst out with a terrifying light. It seemed to have turned into a real divine sword and flew forward. Not good. Ghost Weep's face changed. Even Linglong Shui stood up abruptly. The Blood Kill Saint also frowned. The power of this sword had shocked him. Chapter 4985. Father, aren't you going to stop it? Linglong Shui asked. She could tell that if Ghost Weep couldn't block this sword, he might die. It would be a pity for such a genius to die. The Blood Kill Saint had a solemn expression. He said that since the Azura battlefield opened, no saint item had been used to stop it. If Ghost Weep could block it, it meant that he was a genius. If he couldn't, then he deserved it. Hearing this, Linglong Shui sat down. Indeed, it wasn't as if there hadn't been top-notch geniuses falling in the past. Whether they could survive or not would depend on the other party's ability. But before they could say anything, the people from the Killer Temple roared, "Stop!" But it was too late. The sword was already in front of Ghost Weep. Ghost Weep roared and used his injured body to attack with all his might. Ghost God's hand, Heaven's wrath. A thunderous sword pierced through the 9 heavens. Tens of thousands of thunderbolts fell from the sky and swept across. In the sea of lightning, there was a roar. It made one's scalp go numb. Damn it, I can't accept this. Everyone was terrified. They could tell that it was Ghost Weep's voice. Could it be that Ghost Weep was defeated? When the sea of sword light and lightning disappeared, everyone was stunned. There was no longer Ghost Weep. There was only a purple arm holding a broken sword. The rest had disappeared. Is he dead? Ling Long Shui exclaimed. The Blood Kill Saint sighed. What a pity. On the Killer Temple's side, a man stood up with a gloomy face. He stared at Lin Xian. I said stop. Can't you understand? Obviously, there was more than one person who thought highly of Ghost Weep. It was a pity that such a genius had died. Lin Xian said. Senior stop was a little too late. Moreover, when I participated in the test, no one told me that I couldn't kill anyone here. This Ghost Weep won more than 290 battles and killed 290 geniuses. I didn't see anyone telling me to stop. You. The expert's face turned green. What a sharp-tongued kid. I want to see how far you can go. Senior, you don't have to worry. Lin Xian smiled faintly. After killing Ghost Weep, all of Ghost Weep's achievements would be his. He looked around. There were still 10 battles left. Who was willing to fight with him? Following that, more and more people went. Lin Xian fought against them and won 5 rounds in a row. This shocked everyone. He was just too powerful. However, the Blood Overlord frowned slightly. This person seemed to be a little too arrogant. However, at this moment, someone in the distance said, I think it's normal. Geniuses were all prideful. He was clearly a genius who was stronger than Ghost Weep, so it was normal for him to have a bit of a temper and pride. Many people were shocked when they heard this. Who would dare to refute the Blood Fiend Saint? When they turned around, they were surprised to see that it was the Soul Sage. The Blood Fiend Saint squinted his eyes. Was an old friend here. He, the Blood Kill Saint, controlled the Blood Evil camp and had countless powerful assassins. The Soul Sage Monarch had the same status as him. Furthermore, the Soul Sage Monarch also controlled a faction called the Soul Sage Monarch, which also had countless killer saints. The two sides were in a competitive relationship, and they even had some conflicts because of a certain mission. He didn't expect to meet the Soul Sage Monarch here. The Blood Kill Saint said, Oh, Brother Soul, could it be that you think highly of this kid? After greeting the Soul Sage Monarch, Shuai Ling Long also bowed. Although they had some conflicts, the Soul Sage Monarch was still a senior, and they had to be polite on the surface. The Soul Sage Monarch was a middle-aged man without a beard. No one outside would have thought that he was a terrifying killer saint. Beside him was a young man. It was his son, Soul Cliff. He sat down nearby and smiled. That's right, I do think highly of this young man. I feel that he hasn't used his full strength. Is that so? Since we have different opinions, why don't we have a bet to see who has better foresight? I feel that he will definitely lose the next 5 rounds. He won't be able to pass the test. Then I bet that he will win. The Soul Sage Monarch smiled. I just got a piece of hellfire. If brother wins, I will give you the piece of hellfire. All right. The Blood Kill Saint also smiled. I also got a spiritual pearl. It is very helpful for soul power. If brother wins, I will give you this soul pearl. The surrounding people were shocked. 2 great sage monarchs had a conflict because of a young man. However, some people knew that it had nothing to do with Lin Xian. The 2 great sage monarchs had a conflict. This was just another conflict. Both wanted to suppress the other. It was just that no one knew who would win this time. Thinking of this, they all looked at Lin Xian. Everything depended on this kid. Shui Linglong smiled and stood out. She looked at the candidates in the distance and said, "My Lord Father said. In the next 5 rounds, my Lord Father will take whoever wins him as a disciple." Once these words came out, countless people were in an uproar. They all knew this woman in red. She was Shui Linglong, the Blood Kill Saint's precious daughter. Her words were the Blood Kill Saint's words. Could it be that the Blood Kill Saint had a grudge with the kid below? Many people's eyes turned red. If they could defeat the kid on the stage, they could become the Blood Kill Saint's disciple. The Blood Kill Saint was at the late stage of the Great Sage. His strength was unparalleled. His assassination technique was even more elusive. It was said that he had never failed before. Lin Xian furrowed his brows tightly as he lifted his head and looked into the distance. There was a figure sitting there, surrounded by mountains of corpses and seas of blood. He was abnormally terrifying, as if he was a god of death. Had he seen this man before? Had he offended this person before? That didn't seem to be the case. Why would the other party target him? On the viewing platform of the mountain peak, Soul Sage Lord narrowed his eyes. Hanya, who was standing at the side, said that Senior was being unscrupulous by doing this. Han Xingjun shouted angrily and shut his mouth. Is the sage someone that you can judge? The young man's expression changed, and he stood up. It's my father, I was wrong. Please forgive me, Saint Bloodkill. The Bloodkill Saint laughed. It was normal for young people to be angry. However, what you said about being unscrupulous is also very normal. Therefore, whether or not he could make it through the next 5 battles would depend on his fate. The Bloodkill Saint didn't avoid such methods. In his opinion, this was the most normal thing. In the past, when he wanted to assassinate his enemies, he had done even more unimaginable things. In his opinion, as long as he could succeed, it was fine. After Shui Linglong's words came out, the candidates started to discuss. Another figure walked out. Kid, I originally wanted to preserve my strength and didn't want to make a move on you. However, I didn't expect such a situation to happen. Alright, then I will show my true strength. Chapter 4986. It was Blood Spirit Child. Many people exclaimed when they saw the young man walking over. Obviously, he was a very famous person. His fame was even greater than the Weeping Ghost Land. Who would have thought that even he would be alarmed this time? That guy had hidden his strength very well. No one knew his full strength. Exclamations of surprise sounded one after another. Are you here to die? Lin Xian laughed loudly. Others offer the best conditions, but do you think you can live to take them? Ignorant ant. Blood Spirit Child was furious. How could the other party know his strength? He snorted coldly, waved his bloody hands, and pounced forward. With a crack, the entire world was torn apart by him. Mountains of corpses and seas of blood surrounded him. Countless living beings had been killed by his hands. Lin Xian also struck out with his palm. His palm was simple and unadorned. It did not seem to emit any light. Lin Xian had deliberately used that move. After all, he was going to use the 9-yang body, which might alarm these people. There were not many self-strengthening physiques in the starry sky, so he did not want to attract any attention. Do you know that an ant can compete with my physique? How many saints have I broken with my hands? You're next. Blood Spirit Child sneered and attacked even faster. With a clang, he struck the other party's palm. Break your hand. However, the other party's hands did not break. The other party's palm was like a peerless divine weapon that stopped him. You're the one who doesn't know what's good for you. Lin Xian exerted force with his palm, and with a crack, he broke the other party's bloody claws. Blood Spirit Child screamed and retreated. His bones were exposed from his wounds. Blood Spirit Child gritted his teeth and roared. Meanwhile, Lin Xian took a step forward. Take my claw too. He stretched out his hand. This time, it seemed to have turned into a dragon's claw that covered the sky. Dragon Claw Hand. Get lost. Blood Spirit Child's broken palm regenerated. He struck out with both palms, stirring up a sea of blood. Boom! He was sent flying backward like a kite with a broken string. Countless people were in an uproar when they saw that. Blood Spirit Child was powerful, but he had been defeated in 2 moves. Who would dare to go? Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, inadvertently glancing at the mountain peak in the distance. On the mountain peak, Linglong Shui was instantly enraged. She said, "This brat is challenging you, father. Why don't I teach him a lesson?" Blood Fiend Saint waved his hand. Linglong, sit down quietly and watch patiently. He snorted coldly in his heart. What an interesting kid. Obviously, the other party seemed to have understood what was going on, but so what? He was merely using his opponent to fight against the Soul Sage Monarch. In the end, his only opponent was the Soul Sage Monarch. This kid in front of him was no different from an ant in his eyes. Blood Spirit Child left in a sorry state. He had come here arrogantly and left with his tail between his legs. It was truly embarrassing. However, everyone knew that it wasn't that Xuelingzi was weak. It was that the young man in front of them was too powerful. Who could suppress him? From what I can see, this guy already has the battle prowess of the great sage. Indeed, this young man was very powerful. Countless discussions could be heard. On another mountain peak, the people of the Ghost Eye clan also narrowed their eyes. An elder said, "Do you think he looks like this kid?" Another elder nodded, "He does look like him. An unfamiliar face, super strength, and ruthless means. If any of us from the Ghost Eye clan had any ideas about him, he might have killed all of us without mercy. Maybe he really did it. Test him. Send someone down. See if he has left any markings of our Ghost Eye clan." An elder instructed. Another elder said, "I think we should just kill him. It's better to kill by mistake than to let him go." Everyone nodded and looked at a man behind them. "You can go," that man said respectfully. "Yes, elder." His figure floated down. The surrounding people were silent. Just when they thought that no one would dare to challenge Lin Xian, someone else appeared. Many people looked over. When they saw the pair of gray eyes, they exclaimed, "The Ghost Eye clan." Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. Someone from the Ghost Eye clan. How could he not know? Previously, he had killed the great sage of the Ghost Eye clan. What did the other party mean by appearing at this time? Was he here to test him? Or was he here to suppress him? After Ghost Eye Clan's Ghost Eye technique, he began to investigate. When Lin Xian saw this, he instantly understood. The other party was suspecting him, but so what? The other party couldn't find anything. As expected, Ghost Eye frowned slightly. He really couldn't find anything. However, the elder said that it was better to kill by mistake than to let him go. He wouldn't hold back. His eyes emitted a gray light like an abyss. At the same time, a terrifying aura spread forward. "Become my ghost servant." Ghost Eye revealed a sinister smile. His strength was definitely not something that this person in front of him could resist. The surrounding candidates also kept retreating. They felt as if their souls were being burned by a raging fire. It was too terrifying. This person was an expert in eye techniques. It's over. That kid is in danger. Lin Xian's lips curled into a cold smile. Eye techniques against him. Even the great sage of the Ghost Eye clan was defeated, let alone this person. A chilling radiance appeared in his eyes as he charged over. The power of the two souls clashed in the air, tearing everything apart. Although the two of them stood still, everyone knew that this kind of attack was even more dangerous. The slightest carelessness would cause both the heart and soul to be destroyed. He actually knew soul power. It seemed even more suspicious. Ghost Eye snorted. Just as he was about to gather all his strength, the next moment, his eye technique was instantly torn apart. A terrifying aura poured into his mind. It caused his soul to sway. Damn it. He wanted to resist, but this energy directly strengthened and turned into a human figure. It was like a god looking down on him. Those golden eyes made him want to kneel down and submit. With a plop, he knelt on the ground. When the surrounding people saw this, they were in an uproar. The top expert of the Ghost Eye clan actually knelt down. What was going on? Some of the experts who were watching were shocked. Was the eye technique defeated? Ghost Eye clan was defeated. What kind of soul power did this kid use? When they wanted to investigate, the golden light in Lin Xian's eyes had already disappeared. On the mountain peak, the elders of the Ghost Eye clan saw this scene and suddenly stood up. They were all shocked. Damn it! Ghost Eye! Quickly stand up! They shouted angrily. The other party knelt down. This was a disgrace to their clan. However, Ghost Eye had no respect at this moment. He was completely controlled and did not care about other voices. Lin Xian stretched out his hand and knelt over. Ghost Eye crawled on the ground and crawled to Lin Xian's feet. Lin Xian laughed loudly. The others were even more shocked. However, the two elders could not hold it in anymore. They released a terrifying aura, and their piercing eyes killed over. Kid, do you want to die? Chapter 4987. Boom. The killing intent of the two elders was shattered by the soul sword in midair. The soul sage said indifferently. Since when was the Azura battlefield allowed for outsiders to interfere? Are you guys trying to break the rules? The soul sage looked over, causing the two elders of the Ghost Eye race to tremble. Even though they were great sage as well, compared to the soul sage, they were far too weak. The two of them shook their heads. No, we dare not. One of them said, Soul Sage, please calm down. I suspect that this lad has ambushed one of our geniuses and a great sage of our family. We would like to request for a soul search. The moment these words came out, countless people were in an uproar as they looked at Lin Xian. This lad had killed a great sage. Lin Xian stood there and laughed coldly. Why? Just because I defeated a genius of your family, you guys want to frame me? The Ghost Eye race was truly despicable. Was this how the underworld treated geniuses? What a disappointment. Enough. The soul sage snorted coldly. Ghost Eye race, don't let others see you as a joke. The candidates for this test were top-notch geniuses. You guys claimed that he had killed a great sage. Do you have any evidence? No. The two elders gritted their teeth and sat down with cold faces. One of them sent a voice transmission. Lad, do you think that you can be arrogant just because you have the protection of the soul sage? Just you wait. After the Azura battlefield, I'll see how you die. This was a warning to Lin Xian. Lin Xian laughed coldly and sent a voice transmission as well. You two old fogies, I was the one who killed your great sage. Come and bite me if you're unhappy. The moment the two elders heard this, their eyes widened. They stood up once more and were filled with killing intent. Damn it! However, they did not dare to make a move. After all, Lin Xian had displayed great talent and was favored by the Soul Sage. If they were to make a move now, they would be courting death. However, they would definitely not let this lad off. Since this lad was the one who had done it, they would do whatever it took. Next, Lin Xian passed all the tests and successfully completed the test. Seems like I've won. The Soul Sage Lord chuckled when he saw this. The great sage of Blood Kill also said that it was an eye-opener for him. He did not expect the underworld to have such a genius. This time, I admit defeat wholeheartedly. It wasn't that he didn't have good foresight, but that Lin Xian was just too talented. Such a person was very rare. His appearance here really surprised him. However, he made up his mind that he would not let this genius go. He didn't want to kill the other party. Instead, he wanted to take the other party under his wing and make him a capable subordinate. At this moment, Soul Sage Lord stood up and said. Lin Xian turned around and looked. He knew that this great sage was at the late stage and was very strong. He took a deep breath. The infernal evil eye on his back was sealed by Xia Jiuyo. Even a saint shouldn't be able to detect it. Therefore, he felt much more at ease. With a faint smile, Lin Xian cupped his fists. What instructions does Senior have? Young man, the reason why those people targeted you was all because of me. I made a bet with the Blood Fiend Saint. It was about whether or not you could win. Therefore, they targeted you. Now that you have won, I have obtained a soul bead from Brother Blood Fiend. I intend to give it to you. After all, you have just experienced a dangerous situation. When these words came out, countless people were in an uproar. So it was because of the two saints. At the same time, they were incomparably envious. The soul bead that a saint took out was definitely a top-notch soul bead. This thing was very rare. It was formed by the condensation of countless souls. This was the essence of soul energy. If one could obtain it, it would be of great help to the soul energy of a saint. After Lin Xian heard it, he was stunned. However, he knew how powerful the soul bead was. Therefore, he said that he would have to thank Senior. If he could obtain it, his soul energy would increase again. At that time, his soul energy wouldn't be weaker than the great sage's middle stage. In the underworld, his life-saving means would be stronger. Next, Lin Xian obtained a soul bead. It was the size of a fish and there were countless soul energy revolving around it. He took it and retreated to the side. He sat down cross-legged and began to absorb it. The surrounding people were all envious. However, with the two saints here, no one dared to be presumptuous. They could only watch as the kid absorbed it. Lin Xian tried to absorb some and realized that it was indeed very pure soul energy. No need to worry. It was quickly devoured like this. On the other side, the competition continued. Very few people were able to complete a winning streak of 0-0 matches. However, there was still someone who did it. An extremely ordinary-looking person. So ordinary that if he was placed in a crowd, no one would notice him. The other party was holding a dagger and gently waving it. He could easily reap lives. This made countless experts shocked. The elder of the Assassin Temple was also satisfied. This person was simply born for assassination. That's right. The other party was too calm and decisive. One kill. Even if he didn't succeed, he would escape far away. This was different from Lin Xian. Lin Xian previously displayed powerful strength and talent, but those methods weren't for assassination. Therefore, even if one wanted to become an assassin, one had to be nurtured and specially trained. However, the person in front of them only needed to provide resources and some stronger martial arts. Therefore, many people had their eyes on him. Lin Xian was completely unaware. He felt that his soul energy was rapidly increasing. It was truly an unexpected surprise. He knew that the underworld was just a training experience for him. It was just like the other worlds. The cultivation speed here was even faster than in the Saint Origin Ancient City. It wasn't that the resources in the Saint Origin Ancient City were lacking. Instead, the Ancient City had all kinds of protection. The underworld was a place that existed for assassination. Massacre was very common here. It could be said that every martial artist's life was on the verge of death. They might not be able to see the sun the next day. Under such circumstances, it was very easy to break through one's limit. When all the candidates were done, Lin Xian and the ordinary-looking youth were invited over. Lin Xian went to the mountain peak. After greeting the two seniors, Lin Xian looked at the two saints and bowed. The two saints nodded. "Young man, you don't have to be so polite. We still don't know how to address you. I am Lin Wudi." Lin Wudi. Such an arrogant name. The two saints were also greatly surprised. Even they didn't dare to call him invincible. Shuo Linglong stared at him carefully. Even Hanya was doing the same. The two of them also introduced themselves. The three of them were familiar with each other. At this moment, Hanya said, "Young Master Lin, come join us. We will give you the best treatment and let you grow quickly." Shuo Linglong also stood up and said, "What you have, our blood evil camp also has." It was clear that the two sides had begun to argue. Lin Xian's expression was calm as if it had nothing to do with him. The two saints were shocked when they saw this scene. Hanya said, "This matter isn't urgent. The winner still has a chance to train in the underworld fire. It won't be too late to talk about it after the training." Hearing this, Hanya's expression changed. Even Shuo Linglong looked over and asked, "Young Master Lin, are you willing to join the training in the underworld fire?" Chapter 4988. What was the power of hellfire? Lin Xian asked in confusion. It was a test of willpower. Linglong Shui said that hellfire was a strange land of flames in hell. The flames there could burn the 9 heavens and melt everything. After entering, one would have to endure a heart-wrenching test. If one's physique was strong enough, they would be able to withstand it. However, no matter how strong one's physique was, they would not be able to withstand it for a long time. All that was left was a test of willpower. To become a killer of hell, one had to have a strong willpower. One had to be able to deal with any situation calmly. Hellfire was specially prepared for the victors of the 0-0th match. Lin Xian's eyes lit up when he heard this. He did not care about the test of willpower. After all, he did not plan to truly become a killer saint. What he cared about was that Linglong Shui said that he could cultivate his physique. After cultivating the 9 yang divine body to this point, it was very difficult to find a magical flame. Hellfire was clearly unique to hell. Therefore, he did not plan to miss it. He nodded. Naturally, he was willing. Next, Lin Xian was invited to rest. 3 days later, he would undergo hellfire cultivation. Hellfire would open every once in a while. Only those who passed the test could enter. In addition, some of the original geniuses of hell could also enter. For example, Linglong Shui, Hanya, and the others were completely qualified. In addition to them, there were also some others. In short, there were quite a number of people. However, it was not certain who would be able to last until the end. 3 days later, Hanya and Linglong Shui both came to invite Lin Xian. The three of them walked towards Hell Canyon together. It was an extremely terrifying canyon that split the earth into two halves. There were extremely terrifying flames spreading within. It was hellfire. At this moment, there were already many people standing outside the canyon. Some of them were like Lin Xian. They were victors who had passed the test. There were also some local powerhouses like Linglong Shui, Hanya, and the others. These people were gathered together. In addition, there were a few older powerhouses who were in charge of guarding. When they saw Lin Xian and the others arrive, many people looked over, especially Lin Xian. Among them, there was a person with a venomous gaze. He stood out and said, "You're just an ant. What right do you have to stand with us geniuses? Get lost." Many people were in an uproar when they heard this. Ant? How could this Lin Xian be an ant? However, no one dared to get angry because the one who spoke was a genius from the Ghost Eye clan. The Ghost Eye clan was a top-notch clan, and no one dared to provoke them. Linglong Shui snorted coldly. Young Master Lin came in with a win streak of 0-0. If you call him an ant, then what are you? If you have the ability, go and get a 100 win streak first. Don't think that you can be arrogant here just because you're from a family. You. The genius of the Ghost Eye clan was so angry that he almost vomited blood. On the other side, Ghostly, who was in the crowd, had an ugly expression on his face. Right now, the seal on his soul had been undone. However, when he found out about that day, he actually knelt. He had lost all his face. When he saw Lin Xian this time, he was filled with murderous intent, but he didn't dare to make a move. This was because Exquisite Blood and Soul Cliff were standing beside Lin Xian. These two people were very powerful, and their identities were very high. They were the descendants of sages. Who dared to provoke them? Therefore, the Ghost Eye clan had been slapped in the face in front of everyone, and they couldn't fight back. I want to see if you can withstand the burning of the hellfire. They gritted their teeth. Lin Xian walked out and said, "What? Are some of you not convinced by me? I'll stand here and give those who are not convinced a chance. If anyone can make me take a step back, I'll let them do whatever they want with me. If they lose, I'll destroy their soul. Do you dare?" A cold voice sounded, and everyone's scalps went numb. No one dared to gamble with their lives. Seeing that everyone was silent, Lin Xian snorted and walked back. "All right," at this moment, an elder said, "It's about to begin." Everyone took a deep breath. Was the hellfire finally going to be activated? "Let's go, young Master Lin." Exquisite Blood smiled. Lin Xian nodded. His figure flashed, and he walked toward the canyon ahead. In the next moment, Exquisite Blood and Soul Cliff also rose into the air. In the blink of an eye, they entered the canyon. After these people entered, another figure walked over from afar. This person was riding a war horse. The war horse was fiery red, and there were terrifying black flames burning on it. It was unusually mighty. On the war horse, there was a figure in armor, and he was even more handsome. The arrival of this man caused the guarding elders to walk up. They didn't expect the young master to come. The few of them bowed respectfully. The man smiled. "It's nothing. I heard that a few days ago, an interesting guy appeared during the assessment, so I came to take a look." Interesting guy. The elders were stunned, and then they remembered someone. Wasn't it that little guy? It was said that he was very powerful. He even made the Ghost Shadow clan kneel. Lin Xian didn't know about what happened above. After he entered, he felt an extremely terrifying force enveloping him. It was as if it wanted to burn him to ashes. What a terrifying hellfire. Lin Xian wasn't afraid. Instead, he was very happy. Only such a flame could make his physique stronger. Lin Xian was not the only one who felt it. The other people felt it as well, and their faces turned extremely grim. They had just entered, and it was already so terrifying. The flames below would probably be even more terrifying. What came next would be a torment. Exquisite Blood said with a smile, I was about to cry when I saw them. Only you, young master, are happy. It's really surprising. Lin Xian said, aren't you here to gain experience? The stronger you are, the more you can improve. Mysterious runes flickered on his physique. He didn't stop them. Instead, he allowed the flames to burn. Soul Cliff said, young master, the hellfire is more terrifying as you go down. My father collected hellfire before, so I refined it in advance. It's suitable for you. If you feel that it's too much for you during the descent, stop immediately. Don't take the risk. Exquisite Blood nodded. That's right, young master. We've all felt it before. It's your first time here, so you might not be able to withstand it. So, you can cultivate at a higher altitude. Although the two of them seemed to be concerned about Lin Xian, they still felt that although Lin Xian was strong, he was still a little weaker than the two of them. That was why they were able to speak such words. Lin Xian smiled. He didn't explain anything. He said, all right, then I'll listen to the two of you. If I feel that I can't bear it during the descent, then I'll stop. Chapter 4989. Lin Xian's speed wasn't fast. Some of the stronger ones were very fast and reached the bottom directly. There were also some people who stopped above. However, most of them were descending at a speed faster than Lin Xian's. Some of them looked over and laughed coldly. Was it this brat who caused Guili to suffer? I don't think he's much. He's descending so slowly. He's like a coward. Is such a person worthy of being with us? Some disdainful voices sounded. All of you shut up. Linglong Shui roared angrily and looked over with a terrifying gaze. Some people's scalps went numb and they didn't dare to say anything. However, there were also some powerful people who sneered. Was this kid going to hide behind a woman for the rest of his life? Linglong Shui frowned. Young master, don't bother with them. Lin Xian smiled. It's fine. I wanted to sense the hellfire before, but some people don't know what's good for them. Then, I'll let them have a good look. With that, mysterious runes flowed on Lin Xian's physique, and the power of the 9-yang divine body appeared. He was like a god of war. Suddenly, he absorbed the flames from all directions and descended at an extremely fast speed. This scene stunned countless people. Did this brat want to die? Linglong Shui and Linglong Shui exclaimed. Young master, this is bad. If you can't hold on, you'll be burned to ashes in an instant. But very soon, they were stunned. Because Lin Xian's body wasn't damaged at all. Instead, it became even more mysterious. This kid actually withstood it. Countless people were shocked. Damn it, what's with his physique? Even the faces of the top geniuses who had been clamoring earlier turned extremely ugly. The distance that the other party had descended was far greater than theirs. Who was the ant here? They felt like they had been slapped in the face. Linglong Shui and Linglong Shui smiled bitterly. Hanya said, it seems like we were worried for nothing. Linglong Shui agreed. They had underestimated young Master Lin. The two of them took a deep breath and a terrifying power erupted from their bodies. They descended quickly and chased after Lin Xian. That kid actually hid his strength. Damn it. His physique was actually so strong. When the others saw this scene, they began to discuss spiritedly. At that moment, they saw a figure descending from above at an even faster speed. Many people were astonished. Who was this? Had another super expert arrived? They saw a warhorse covered in black flames, with a figure sitting on it, quickly descending. When the surrounding people saw this, they all exclaimed in shock. Heavens, isn't he Yin Tianfeng? He actually came as well. Countless people cried out in alarm. They clearly recognized this man. Yin Tianfeng rode his warhorse over and shouted coldly, "Is the person you were talking about a newcomer?" Yes, that's right, it was him. The people around him nodded. They no longer dared to speak ill of him. Because they didn't know why Yin Tianfeng was looking for him. Yin Tianfeng's lips curled into a smile. Where did he go? Bring me to him. On the other side, Lin Xian walked quickly through the hellfire, the surrounding flames burning on his body. However, he remained expressionless. Behind him, Linglong Shui and Hanya caught up. Their faces were pale. Hanya said, "Young Master Lin, slow down. We know your strength." Linglong Shui also smiled. "Young Master, your physique is too strong. This is the hellfire. The two of us can't take it anymore." Speaking of this, the two of them smiled bitterly. Previously, they had kindly reminded Lin Xian that he couldn't handle the hellfire. But now, it seemed that they might be the ones who couldn't handle it. Lin Xian smiled. He said, "I'm also a little tired. Let's cultivate here for a while." The surrounding flames weren't bad, so Lin Xian decided to stay for a while. Linglong Shui and Hanya were naturally willing. If they continued, they really couldn't take it anymore. Hence, the three of them sat there cross-legged. They allowed the hellfire to envelop their bodies and began to refine their physiques. To train their willpower. After a period of time, Lin Xian opened his eyes and looked into the distance. He could feel a powerful aura surging towards him. Who is it? Soon, he saw a figure descending. There were many people, but the one at the front was a warhorse. The warhorse was surrounded by black flames. The figure sitting on the warhorse was equally majestic. Lin Xian narrowed his eyes. The hellfire here was already so terrifying. The others looked as if they were facing a great enemy. Their faces were pale. But this person looked calm. It was obvious that he didn't take it seriously. This person was very strong. He was secretly on guard. It seemed that the underworld had experts too. After all, the underworld occupied an entire galaxy. Moreover, it was a very ancient inheritance. It was an existence that had come out of the land. How could there not be any top geniuses? Would there be any emperor-like existences this time? Lin Xian was looking forward to it. Linglong Shui and Hanya also sensed something. They turned around and exclaimed. "Yin Tianfeng, he's here too." Lin Xian said. "Is this person very famous?" "He's very famous. He's also a top genius." Previously, 5 sages chased after him. In the end, he killed 5 of the great sages' people in a row and became famous. He's very powerful. Lin Xian was shocked too. His eyes lit up. That man didn't seem to be a great sage, but he had the ability to kill 5 great sages' people in a row. He's indeed a top expert. Yin Tianfeng also saw Lin Xian and the rest. He stared at Lin Xian, a cold light flashing in his eyes. Is this the kind of person he is? Interesting. His physique is completely different. Yin Tianfeng naturally noticed that Lin Xian was different. Hence, the light in his eyes was also extremely bright. Lin Xian stood up and said, "Can the two of you continue?" Linglong Shui and the rest took a deep breath and said yes. Of course. How could they admit defeat so easily? Although they all wanted to rope in Lin Xian, they were all geniuses and had their own pride. If Lin Xian could leave, so could they. Alright, let's continue. Lin Xian continued to descend. When the people behind saw this scene, they felt their scalps go numb. Damn, this kid is really ruthless. Isn't he afraid that his body will split open? I want to see how far he can descend. He'll definitely come up obediently before long. However, after a long time, Lin Xian and the rest still didn't come up. Those people were shocked. Is this kid's physique really that strong? Yin Tianfeng sneered. He also rode on his warhorse and descended quickly. The others were hesitating whether to go or not. They couldn't take it anymore. Some took out Dharma treasures, while others swallowed pills. They walked over to take a look. They couldn't take it lying down. These people all used their own methods. However, their speed was 100 times slower than Lin Xian, Yin Tianfeng, and the rest. Chapter 4990. Lin Xian stopped again. Feeling the aura here, even he was shocked. The hellfire in the surroundings had already begun to transform into various kinds of demonic beasts that were crawling around. Some of them were charging towards them. Linglong and Hanya were facing a great enemy. They knew they couldn't continue. Lin Xian also said that they should stay here for a long time. Yin Tianfeng also came here. He stopped and started to comprehend too. The hellfire around him started to condense and burn. Soon, an illusion appeared. After the hellfire was refined, it formed 9 hellfire dragons behind him. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws, rushing towards the sky. A terrifying roar was heard, resounding in all directions. The people who had rushed over were dumbfounded when they saw this scene. This was a vision of heaven and earth. This Yin Tianfeng was too powerful. He tamed the hellfire not long after arriving. To form such a vision of heaven and earth. They looked at the godlike existence with endless fear and envy in their eyes. Linglong and Hanya were shocked too. To be honest, they didn't have such skills. This Yin Tianfeng was too powerful. The two shook their heads and sighed. Not to mention them, no one here could surpass Yin Tianfeng. At this moment, Yin Tianfeng walked forward. He came to Linglong and Hanya's side. Linglong and Hanya felt as if they were facing a great enemy. The 9 hellfire dragons behind them gave them a lot of pressure. They said coldly, "What do you want? Do you want to fight here?" Yin Tianfeng looked at the two and shook his head. His gaze landed on Lin Xian. "You're the one who made the Ghost Eye clan kneel down, right? Looks like you're just a so-so. I thought you'd be a powerful guy. You've disappointed me." As soon as these words were spoken, many people cried out in surprise. Even Linglong and Linglong frowned. Was Yin Tianfeng here for Lin Xian? Lin Xian frowned when he heard this. He turned around and said, "Are you here for the Ghost Eye clan?" Yin Tianfeng smiled. "The Ghost Eye clan can't afford to hire me." Lin Xian frowned. "Then who are you? Do I know you?" With that, he closed his eyes and ignored the other party. He was just a guy who thought he was infallible. It can't be. How could this brat be so bold as to ignore Yin Tianfeng? Ha ha ha, he's dead meat. Who did he think he was? Just because he had a 300-win streak, he could behave atrociously in front of Enchanting Peak. He was too naive. Enchanting was able to kill 5 people from the Great Sage. How powerful was he? If he wanted to kill the other party, he could probably do it with a wave of his hand. Linglong Shui and the other two frowned. Although they knew that Lin Xian was strong, he was still lacking compared to Enchanting. However, they believed that Lin Xian's future would be terrifying. Linglong Shui said, "Enchanting, what do you want? Young Master Lin is our guest." "So what if he was your guest? If he was your father, I would still be courteous to him. But you? It was useless. The two of you combined won't even be enough for me to fight with one hand." Yin Tianfeng's face was full of arrogance. He did not give them any face at all. Linglong Shui clenched her teeth. "Damn it, how dare you look down on us?" Hanya said, "Stop, don't fight with him. We can't beat him." Linglong Shui and the other two were furious. However, they still stayed by Lin Xian's side. It seemed that if Enchanting really wanted to attack, they would also use some tricks. Yin Tianfeng's face was a little gloomy. Although he did not care about Linglong Shui and the other two, Lin Xian in front of him had really infuriated him. Did Lin Xian really ignore him? What a joke. When had he ever dared to be ignored? "Brat, I heard that 2 great sages thought highly of you. You're very talented. Now, it seems that you're just a so-so. Can you be stronger than me?" The 9 hellfire dragons behind him roared into the sky, releasing terrifying flames. Linglong Shui and the other two kept retreating. Their faces were pale. Damn it, this guy was too arrogant. The others were also shocked. He was too strong. Enchanting alone was enough to suppress the myriad of worlds and make all the geniuses lose their brilliance. Facing such a terrifying phenomenon, Lin Xian smiled faintly. It was just a little fire control technique. What was there to be proud of? He really did not understand. There was a tinge of disdain in his words. Enchanting was furious. "A little trick. Do you know how hard it is to control the hellfire? How hard it is to subdue? Do you know that other than me, no one else can control the hellfire? You actually said it was just a little trick. Seems like your standards are too low. I am actually interested in trash like you. What a waste of my time." Yin Tianfeng's expression was extremely cold. To him, the person in front of him was just a rumor. He was not worthy of his attention. Lin Xian said, "Why? Am I wrong? How hard is it to control the hellfire?" The surrounding people were stunned. Was Lin Xian really going to continue challenging Enchanting? Yin Tianfeng's face darkened. "You said it was not hard to control. You control it. Let me see. If you can condense a hellfire dragon, I will acknowledge you." "Acknowledge me? Who do you think you are? Do I need your acknowledgement?" Lin Xian smiled. "Since your standards are low, I will show you what a real hellfire dragon is." Lin Xian turned around. His eyes were dazzling. "You overestimate yourself." Enchanting sneered. The 9 hellfire dragons behind him made him look like the god of hell. The surrounding people sneered. This kid wants to condense a hellfire dragon too. What a joke. Hellfire was so hard to resist. Other than a few experts who could rely on their physiques, the others had already surpassed their limits. Hence, they took out their magic treasures to defend themselves. Some even swallowed secret pills to come here. But they felt that it was worth it to see Lin Xian suffer. Lin Xian stood there. He stomped his foot and the surrounding sea of fire shook violently. Countless flames rose into the sky. Then, they condensed quickly behind Lin Xian. The hellfire was extremely terrifying. Every time it rolled, it would shatter heaven and earth. Gradually, an illusion appeared. Many people widened their eyes. Hellfire dragon. Could it be that he really condensed it? Even Linglong Shui and Hunya were shocked. Young Master Lin was indeed talented. He could even subdue hellfire. Yin Tianfeng was also stunned. Did Lin Xian condense it too? To be honest, it was out of his expectations. Lin Xian had some ability. No wonder he was so arrogant. But that was it. He could condense 9 hellfire dragons while Lin Xian could only condense 1. Lin Xian was far from being his opponent. The corners of his mouth curled up into a sneer, but the sneer quickly froze. His eyes were filled with fear and his body started to tremble. The surrounding people widened their eyes in disbelief. How was this just 1 hellfire dragon? Behind Lin Xian, the endless sea of fire condensed. 3,000 hellfire dragons roared into the sky, suppressing the 9 heavens and 10 lands. At this moment, the entire hellfire sea was filled with the loud and clear sound of a dragon. Lin Xian seemed to have turned into a dragon god, looking down on everyone. Chapter 4991. Lin Xian was surrounded by 300 hellfire dragons. He looked at Yin Tianfeng and smiled faintly. Do you still think you're high and mighty? Yin Tianfeng's face turned pale. His face was filled with fear. Impossible. The 9 fire dragons behind him began to crumble under the suppression of the 3,000 hellfire dragons. Damn it, what method did you use? You can't condense so many. He was really crazy. 3009, how many times was that? Could it be that the opponent was a few hundred times stronger than him? What a joke, he wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. Lin Xian didn't answer, but shook his head and said, I thought there were some top experts in the underworld, and I even thought you were not bad. But now, it seems that you've really disappointed me. So, with your little ability and vision, I actually paid attention to you. What a waste of my time. Yin Tianfeng was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He was mocking him before, but he didn't expect him to return the favor in such a short time. He was humiliated. Linglong Shui and Hunya were both stunned. 3,000 hellfire dragons, what kind of scene was that? It was a miracle. Looking at the 9 fire dragons beside Yin Tianfeng, they suddenly felt that the situation was a bit ridiculous. If Yin Tianfeng didn't come to cause trouble, perhaps nothing would have happened. But now, he had shot himself in the foot. In the distance, those people were even more terrified. This guy was so terrifying, don't provoke him. When he grew up in the future, Yin Tianfeng might be even more terrifying. In fact, he might even become a saint in the future. In an instant, countless people looked at Lin Xian with fear in their eyes. Humph, kid, you used some despicable method, right? Otherwise, how could you condense 3,000 hellfire dragons? If you have the ability, fight me. Yin Tianfeng stepped out, and a powerful aura shrouded in all directions. The surrounding sky kept shattering. The surrounding people were terrified. But there were also people who said, I also think that this kid might have used some tricks. He's definitely not as strong as Yin Tianfeng. Linglong Shui and Hunya roared, Yin Tianfeng, don't go overboard. Do you really think you can do whatever you want here? Linglong Shui, I'm giving face to your fathers, but it doesn't mean I can't suppress you. If I want to suppress the 2 of you, it will be easy for me to win. Yin Tianfeng said coldly. With a wave of his hand, a black pagoda floated above his hand, emitting a terrifying aura. Linglong Shui and Linglong Shui's expressions turned extremely ugly. Damn it! The other party had gone too far. Lin Xian turned his head and said, "If you want to fight with me, sure, but not now. I need to cultivate now. You can wait at the side." Lin Xian was indeed going to cultivate. He condensed 3,000 hellfire and prepared to envelop his 9-yang divine body. This allowed his 9-yang divine physique to take another step forward. "Good lad, I'll wait for you." Yin Tianfeng stepped aside and sneered. Lin Xian waved his hand and the 3,000 hellfire dragons completely enveloped it. In the next moment, an extremely terrifying flame energy erupted, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. Was this kid crazy? Even Yin Tianfeng's eyelids were twitching violently. Such a cultivation technique was simply courting death. Lin Xian's divine body also cracked at this moment. It couldn't be helped. Hellfire wasn't an ordinary flame. It was an extremely terrifying flame. Lin Xian's physique was unparalleled in the early stage of the Great Sage. In fact, he could even compete with the Great Sage. But it still cracked at this moment. One could imagine how terrifying hellfire was. However, this was the effect he wanted. Lin Xian quickly circulated his divine body and began cultivating. The surrounding people sneered and waited. They felt that the battle would begin soon. After all, such cultivation wouldn't last long. However, 1 day, 2 days, 10 days passed. The other party didn't seem to have stopped cultivating at all. This shocked them. Some people couldn't take it anymore. They took out their Dharma treasures and elixirs. They had to leave quickly. Go quickly. Otherwise, we'll be burned to ashes. These people left quickly. Another 10 days passed. Linglong Shui and Hunya couldn't take it anymore. They also flew in the opposite direction. A month later, Yin Tianfeng's face turned cold. Despicable kid, his physique was too terrifying. He could still hold on. Let's see how long you can last. He snorted coldly and turned to leave. Heaven and earth quieted down. Only the endless hellfire was roaring crazily. Meanwhile, Lin Xian was quietly cultivating in the land of endless flames. In the blink of an eye, half a year passed. Everyone went crazy. Some people already thought that Lin Xian was dead. This kid is really an idiot. He's probably burned to ashes. I think so too. Who can stay in such a terrifying place for half a year? Even the great sage couldn't. Countless people sneered. They thought that Lin Xian was dead for sure. Yin Tianfeng snorted coldly and turned to leave. Shui Linglong and Hunya were extremely anxious. They wanted to go down to investigate, but they found that the place was several times more terrifying than before. They couldn't go down even if they wanted to. "Young Master Lin, are you all right?" They shouted, but there was no reply. Damn it, how could this be? Could it be that he really died? If there weren't any changes here, they could still wait at ease. But now, the flames here were several times more terrifying than before. Such a strange change made them unsure. Naturally, Lin Xian also sensed the changes here. Lin Xian roared. His 9-yang divine body emitted a terrifying radiance as it reached another level. His physique was already comparable to the great sage. Now, he could compete with the great sage with just the strength of his physique. This made him pleasantly surprised. This was great. But soon, he felt an even more terrifying aura sweeping toward him. What's going on? He didn't continue to descend, but the aura here was several times more terrifying than before. What had happened? He frowned. His eyes had a golden light as he looked around. There was a sea of flames around him. There didn't seem to be any changes. There didn't even seem to be anyone. But at this moment his pupils suddenly shrank. He suddenly looked down. There was a black shadow circling below his feet. It was extremely terrifying. The black shadow also suddenly raised its head. Two flaming eyes pierced through the 9 heavens. Lin Xian felt as if his body was about to melt. What was this? Lin Xian took a step back in fright. But he quickly calmed down. Was it a demonic beast? The land of Hell's Flames actually had such a terrifying demonic beast. He wanted to leave, but he found that the black shadow was already staring at him. Lin Xian's figure flashed. He soared into the air, wanting to leave. But the black shadow below roared and charged. An endless sea of flames rushed out. Chapter 4992. Humph. Lin Xian snorted coldly, unleashing his divine body, sweeping in all directions, causing the heavens and earth to tremble, letting out a thunderous sound. But that black shadow was very scary. Lin Xian attacked, but it seemed to have passed through the opponent. Was it an illusion? He furrowed his brows tightly. But at this time, the light in his eyes became even scarier. He didn't attack, because he realized that the black shadow was actually a dragon. A hellfire dragon. Did the hellfire dragon really exist? Lin Xian was shocked. He stood there, the great dragon sword soul in his body covered his entire body, raising his head to confront the hellfire dragon. The giant dragon head swooped down, less than a meter away from Lin Xian. Lin Xian could feel the dragon flame of the opponent, it could easily spray on him, but he didn't take a step back. Lin Xian spoke, "So there are dragons resting here, sorry to disturb. Are you also one of the dragons?" The dragon head's voice was very low. As it spoke, the sea of fire in the sky swept in all directions. Without waiting for Lin Xian to reply, it shook its head. "No, you're not one of the dragons, you're a human." "But why is the dragon aura on your body so scary? Speak." The hellfire dragon roared, and the flames in the entire Hell Canyon rose instantly. Those who were still cultivating all ran out crazily. Their faces were full of fear, so much so that the surrounding people all sensed it. Damn it, what's going on? What happened to the Hell Canyon? Heaven and earth anomaly. Could it be that a strong warrior came? Or was there a peerless treasure in the Hell Canyon that was about to appear? Countless people looked at this scene, extremely shocked. This was something that had never happened in thousands of years. Facing the opponent's questioning and roaring, Lin Xian was very calm. The great dragon sword soul in his body roared, endless dragon-shaped sword energy flew out, sweeping across the 9 heavens. The hellfire dragon's pupils shrank after seeing this. "This is the great dragon sword soul, you're the dragon sword inheritor." "That's right, I'm the dragon sword inheritor." Lin Xian nodded, he didn't hide it at all. The hellfire dragon laughed loudly. "So that's how it is. No wonder I felt that as a human. How could your Tao of dragon aura be so powerful? So you're the dragon sword successor." All this was explained clearly. "Senior, you should be able to relax now, right?" Lin Xian said, but he sighed inwardly. Although the other party's aura was terrifying, Lin Xian's eyes were terrifying. He could tell that this was just an illusion. In other words, the hellfire dragon had already fallen. "Senior, do you want me to avenge you?" Lin Xian said. The hellfire dragon was stunned, then said, "You saw through it." Lin Xian nodded. He could tell that the senior had already fallen. The hellfire dragon said that he did not die, but he left behind a strand of his soul. If you really want to help me, then go to the bottom of hell and destroy a stone tablet. My remnant soul can enter the cycle of reincarnation. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll be stuck in this canyon forever, unable to leave. Lin Xian said, the flames below are too terrifying. With my strength, I can't enter at all. The Hellfire Dragon said, don't worry, I'll help you, and I'll give you a sword. Use it to destroy the stone tablet. As he said that, a sword flew out from the Hellfire Dragon's head. It was a divine sword burning with flames, the Hellfire Dragon sword. Lin Xian was shocked. This was made from the Hellfire Dragon's strongest dragon scales. It was an unparalleled divine weapon. Although Lin Xian had the great dragon sword spirit, it was only the sword spirit that circled around his body. The great dragon sword was long gone. Other than that, he had many sacred weapons in his hands, but he only used the great destruction spear. The peerless sword could not keep up with his improvement. Now that he saw the Hellfire Dragon sword, Lin Xian was extremely happy. With this sword, coupled with his peerless sword skills, the power would increase again. The Hellfire Dragon seemed to have seen through Lin Xian's thoughts. He said, as long as you help me destroy the stone tablet and let me reincarnate, this Hellfire Dragon sword will be yours. As he said that, he removed the soul imprint on it. Lin Xian felt even more at ease now. Thank you, Senior. He was too happy. This Hellfire Dragon's remnant soul was so terrifying. It made him feel like he was facing a great enemy. What kind of terrifying existence was it at its peak? It was probably not weaker than Senior Xia Zhuoyou. The Great Sage was at its peak. It might have even surpassed the Saint Realm. So the Fire Dragon sword left behind by such a supreme existence really made him happy. Next, the Hellfire Dragon's phantom brought him deeper into the Hell Canyon. He didn't know how long they flew. The surrounding flames were enough to turn a saint into ashes. Fortunately, Lin Xian was wrapped up. Otherwise, he would have been turned into ashes. Was it this stone tablet? Lin Xian found a stone tablet in front of him. It was pitch black. He didn't know what kind of stone it was made of. But in the flames that could turn a saint into ashes, it was perfectly fine. There wasn't even a crack. And it had been here for countless years. This stone was too scary. Could he really break it? The Hellfire Dragon said, you have the Hellfire Dragon sword now. You can mobilize the flames in the entire canyon. Let's begin. Lin Xian took a deep breath. He used the power of the Great Dragon Sword's soul and poured it into the Hellfire Dragon sword. The Hellfire Dragon sword seemed to come alive. The flames on it exploded. There was a dragon phantom surrounding it. Lin Xian slashed out. The power of the entire sea of fire around him flew towards his sword, causing the power of the sword to increase exponentially. Boom! Lin Xian slashed out with his sword. The power was extremely terrifying. At this moment, the entire Hell Canyon shook violently. Flaming sword lights shot into the sky. The people outside the canyon were all stunned. What had happened? Even the powerhouses of the underworld were alarmed by this. One by one, they looked over. Oh no, it's the Fire Canyon. Did an accident happen? What accident could there be? Many people were shocked and puzzled. They rushed over. With one slash, the black stone tablet shook violently. Lin Xian roared and used the Great Dragon Sword's soul again. With the power of the Hell Canyon, he never had to worry about wasting it. Another sword slash was unleashed. This time, the power of the Great Dragon Sword's soul was completely unleashed, together with the Hellfire Dragon Sword. It was really terrifying. With a clang, the stone tablet was sent flying into the distance. The flames in the entire Hell Canyon had become much dimmer. Obviously, he used too much power in this slash. Lin Xian's hands were cracked. His face was pale. The art of immortality quickly healed his injuries. At the same time, he asked, "Senior, is it okay? Did he really break it?" The Hellfire Dragon was stunned at first. Then, he laughed. Ha 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 ha. His voice spread to the 9 heavens. Thousands of worlds were collapsing. "Young man, you really surprised me. No wonder you're the descendant of the great dragon." The Hellfire Dragon kept laughing. Lin Xian said, "Senior, you're too kind." The Hellfire Dragon shook his head. "No, you showed me the power of the great dragon sword soul. It's just that you're too weak. The great dragon sword can't unleash its true power in your hands. If you give it to me, I can become a great emperor. So, leave it to me." Chapter 4993. He suddenly lowered his head, a terrifying flame burst out from his eyes, as if it was a godly fire. It caused Lin Xian's body to split open. Lin Xian roared and raised his sword to block. The power of the dragon sword spirit turned into a sword shadow and slashed forward. His face darkened. "Senior, I saved you. Do you want to repay kindness with enmity?" "Repay kindness with enmity." Ha 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 ha. The Hellfire Dragon laughed loudly. "When I swept the world, a ball of fire could destroy a world. I fought with others, destroyed hundreds of worlds, countless lives turned into ashes. Even if you die, what does it have to do with me? I want the dragon sword spirit. Give it to me." He rushed over. Lin Xian's face darkened. He realized that he had been tricked. This was not a kind person, this was a hell dragon that had killed countless people, pretending to be innocent and pitiful to deceive him. With a cold snort, Lin Xian roared and slashed out with his sword. "You underestimate me too much, you might not be able to beat me here. You're just a remnant soul." He slashed out with his sword, cutting through the sky. However, it did not hit. The Hellfire Dragon instantly merged into his body. "Don't worry, I won't let you die, I will let your body exist as another life. But your soul, just disappear like smoke." Possession. He roared crazily and rushed in. Lin Xian felt that his soul was about to split open, he felt the world spinning. Too strong, this was a supreme existence. Although it was just a remnant soul, it was still terrifying enough to make the world tremble. Such a strong soul, it could actually block it. The Hellfire Dragon was very happy. "It seems that not only do you have the dragon sword spirit, your soul and body are far beyond the Holy King. Even in the Great Sage, it was extremely rare. That's great. With you, I can recover even faster." The Hellfire Dragon was very satisfied. He wanted to swallow Lin Xian's soul. But at this time, he was stunned. He realized that there was another aura in his body. It was even more terrifying. He rushed in. Lin Xian was shocked. He did not have time to counterattack. He realized that the Hellfire Dragon did not attack his soul, but rushed into the sword world. "Not good," Lin Xian exclaimed. Xia Jiuyo was still cultivating in the sword world. It was a very mysterious world. If he was discovered, it would be dangerous. However, the Hellfire Dragon was too terrifying. It rushed in an instant. Lin Xian was still one step too. After the Hellfire Dragon went in, he realized that he had left Lin Xian's body and came to a mysterious world. This world was incomparably desolate and dilapidated, but there was a prehistoric aura that shocked him. He was stunned. A giant dragon, a dragon, a dragon, a dragon's head. He saw withered trees and even a valley full of vitality in the distance. Other than that, everything else was withered. This was that world. It was the world of legends. I'm finally here. Ha 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 ha. Kid, I didn't expect you to give me so many surprises. With this world, who is my opponent, they have to listen to me. Lin Xian heard the roar the moment he entered the sword world. He was stunned. Could it be that the Hellfire Dragon knew about this world and recognized it? The Hellfire Dragon did not care about Lin Xian at all. He stared at the withered tree in an instant. The divine spring of life, that's great. With it, my soul will be able to recover. But an old thing has the right to use the divine spring of life. Go to hell. He roared, spat out a ball of flames, and attacked Xia Jiuyo. Not good, senior, dodge. Lin Xian exclaimed. Xia Jiuyo opened his eyes. He also slashed over, directly tearing the sea of flames. His body flashed, and he arrived in front of the Hellfire Dragon. A mere remnant soul dares to be arrogant in front of me, suppress. He roared. An immortal king appeared behind Xia Jiuyo, sweeping across the world, directly sending the Hellfire Dragon flying. The entire ground was shaking. In the Four-Spirit Valley, the four spirit beasts were also alarmed. Damn, what's going on? This old man is actually so terrifying. When Xia Jiuyo came in, they were still very jealous. Why could he sit on the divine spring of life? Now that he attacked, they were so scared that they were about to cry. This was simply a supreme existence that could sweep across the world. The spirit dragon exclaimed, Heavens, the Hellfire Dragon, this was also a supreme existence. This was a fight between immortals. If this was not a mysterious world and they were strong enough, they would have run away long ago. The fight between these two immortals did not cause any cracks to appear in the mysterious world. One could imagine how terrifying this world was. The Hellfire Dragon roared, Damn old thing, you dare to hurt me. He roared and rushed over. However, the immortal king punched him to the ground again. The Hellfire Dragon roared, Damn it, who are you? Why are you in this world? How can you still be alive? He was in disbelief. He realized that the other party was not weaker than him. Although the other party was old and withered, he was still alive. And he was just a remnant soul. Damn it, if I was in my peak state, how could you be my opponent? Xia Jiuyo snorted, with just you. If I was in my peak state, I could kill you in one move. The stars in his eyes flickered with extreme confidence. Lin Xian was stunned. These two people's attacks had such shocking power. Xia Jiuyo said, What's wrong with this little guy? Lin Xian said, I was tricked by him, he explained briefly. Then he asked, Senior, how would you deal with this Hellfire Dragon? If he wanted to go out, he could use a sea of fire, the other party could resist. Since he was here, he could forget about going out. Damn it, do you still want to kill me? I am an immortal existence. The Hellfire Dragon roared. Xia Jiuyo sneered, No one in this world can't die. It's just a matter of time. No matter how strong you are just a remnant soul now. I was tricked by someone back then, otherwise, would still be an invincible existence. He roared crazily. Xia Jiuyo ignored him. He used his power and started to seal the other party's soul. The Hellfire Dragon roared crazily, but in this world, he could not use his power. He could only be beaten up by Xia Jiuyo. In the end, he said, I submit. If you submit, you can go and open up this world. Damn old man, you dare to make me a laborer. The Hellfire Dragon roared, his eyes red. Then he said, What's wrong with this world? Isn't this the legendary place? Why is it so dilapidated? Could it be that it's not the world I know? You talk too much. Xia Jiuyo slapped the Hellfire Dragon away. slapping him to a chaotic place far away. Then he said, "Expand your territory." Lin Xian was stunned. "How strong is this Ya Joyo?" The Hellfire Dragon roared and charged back. Xia Joyo's seal almost cracked the other party's soul. "Damn old man, what did you do to me?" End of chapter. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.